Ready. Hello, Glue Troopers. Max's Models here, starting just a couple of minutes early. As I mentioned, one-man show tonight, so I'm monitoring the chat and trying to run the show. Got lots of stuff prepared here. First thing is, can you guys hear me coming through? And, let's see. Yeah, she may keep an eye on us. Let's see. That's cheating when you tell me to say Godzilla. It's got to happen organically. You know what, Eric? Yeah, let me send you a link real quick, and you can get signed on. I don't know when Ken's going to get here. Let's see. Go to the mail. Sign in. Try not to be signed into too much stuff because of bandwidth issues. You can wind up getting a real jittery show otherwise. Let's see. Compose. Eric. Oops. Celebrating cats. Link. Let's see. Do I still have it saved? Paste. Yeah, I think that's. Pretty sure that's it. Okay, Eric. You got a link heading your way, and I think that was the link to the Zoom. If you wind up on some kind of channel you didn't expect, we'll know I didn't save it. Okay, so get Zoom up here. So if you do contact me, gosh, I got so many freaking screens. Oh, come on, stop it. There we go. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about, and given that tomorrow is the 84th anniversary attack on Pearl Harbor, we are going to be talking about kit models related to Pearl Harbor. Hey, Frankie. So first things first, I got a ton of pictures that I uploaded, so we'll be putting a lot of that up on the screen. And let's see, which ones do we want to start with? First off, as you know, pretty much everything that was used, if you're building models for the first year of the war, first 6 months of the war, a lot of the same pilots, equipment, sailors, and everything were at Coral Sea, Midway, that were at Pearl. And in fact, Midway is really where the Japanese Naval Air Arm and its fast carriers got gutted. Coral Sea, they took a bit of a shellacking, so did we. But Pearl, which is very misunderstood by a lot of people, the more I've watched and read about it, the more I've realized it's a lot harder for people to understand. One of the things that a lot of folks don't realize is that the dive bombers, the Japanese dive bombers, were told not to go after battleships because they didn't think the bombs were too small. They didn't think they could penetrate the deck armor. So high altitude level bombers and torpedo planes went after them. It was the torpedo planes running down a predictable path that wound up taking a shellacking. So we'll get into all that. Let's see. Okay, move this over here. One of the okay, I'm going to move that down here. There we go, get that out of the way. Okay, got all kinds of airplanes to talk about and ships and everything else. You guys will notice that the Japanese have two primary colors for their naval aircraft. They have that light gray, Imperial Japanese gray-green, and then they have the dark green. The aircraft that are painted with the light gray-green, which is often portrayed as just being gray, and in certain lighting conditions it just looks gray. Top and bottom, the whole airplane except for the cowling are painted that color. Really the easiest paint job you can do. And I had some folks ask me about painting the Japanese aircraft. However, the Japanese had learned early on that the green did show up, that light gray was great in the air. It made the airplanes harder to see. It's not that far off from air superiority gray today. But when it got down on the water, it made them easy to see. So the torpedo planes, the Kates, were painted dark green even before Pearl Harbor kicked off. Let's see here. This is, oh good God, what happened to my image here? I don't know about you guys, but I've got this weird image on my anyway. So hold it over here. This shade of green should always be on the torpedo plane. Yes, before the war and when they were in China, some of them were that gray, but the gray underside, but the dark green, and the dive bombers at Pearl should be this. And this company actually paints the airplanes in a gray, but the proper color is, let me see if I can reset this camera. That's just driving me bonkers. Okay, let's see here. Let me turn this off. Turn it back on. Nope, still doing it. Okay, let me let Eric in here, and I will reset my... Hey, Eric. I can't hear you. Your microphone's not on. Yeah, it's... Okay. There you go. Now I can hear you. Let me put the microphone...
I'm on my screen.
Yeah, it looks like it's fogged up a little bit.
Yeah, it's all foggy.
And now my camera is acting up. I gotta love these live streams. Oh, there, it looks like it's straightened out. Still have the lowest production values on the internet. Proud of it.
Yeah, hold on. Let me clean off my... There's something on the cover of the phone here. So hold on a second.
You didn't put it in the holder backwards, did you?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is the first 1/32 scale Zero that I built. This is for 21st Century Toys. It's actually a pretty good kit. I know they didn't last very long in making models, but it's got the working gear. I actually put an electric motor in. This I built years ago when I did my Battle of Midway documentary. And the canopy slides, pilot comes out. Well, there we go. Yeah. Canopy slides, gear retracts, the hook can be dropped. And this one has the 2 blue bands on the fuselage that tells you it came from the Hiryu. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the markings on some of the Japanese aircraft. But this looks gray, but it's actually called Imperial Japanese green. It is a faint, almost seasick green, which in the right light does look gray. I tried to mix some last night, couldn't get it right, so I put a different paint scheme on that little LS model I was building. But this is how the dive bombers and the Zeros should have been painted for Pearl Harbor. And I mean, if you're modeling an airplane from Pearl Harbor. My wife, who never forgets anything, reminded me today, oh, isn't that the name of your favorite movie? And I just sat there and choked on my coffee and cringed. I will never forgive them for painting the Zeros in that movie the olive drab because it looked better on camera.
Yeah.
We started on that one. Holly weird. Anyway, so, but the whole airplane, bottom and top, one color. And depending on what carrier and what squadron, that's what determines the bands. I did not put any numbers on the tail because I was reusing this plane for different shots. Very common technique in the film industry, or But I actually had an electric motor in there, and the whole thing wound up with about 7 seconds of screen time. So, but even at Pearl, the torpedo planes did have the dark green. In fact, let's just go ahead and start looking at some of the pictures I downloaded to talk about this very thing. Okay. Now, one of the problems with using box art to paint your models, and Eric, can you monitor the comments for me, because I'm kind of running the show here.
Yeah, give me a second to let me get my laptop.
Okay.
Seconds comments as well.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll bet they said. So anyway, we have Eric calling from the hot tub. Thanks for that mental picture. So anyway, one of the problems with using the box art, aside from sometimes we all know box art is wrong, is that you look at this one from Fujimi. It's beautiful box art. This is a Zero over Pearl. But if you're a kid trying to paint the airplane, given the lighting and everything, you couldn't figure out what color it is. And when you try to use the photographs that come from the air, the ones that aren't black and white, one of the problems is that the old Technicolor film back then, especially the Japanese stuff, depending on lighting and everything, it could be way, way, way off shade. One thing about all the Japanese carrier-based aircraft, they all had black cowlings, and I assume that was just because the mechanics had to work on them. They wanted to, you know, probably help keep the oil and everything showing. But the fighters and dive bombers, IJing light green all over, and the torpedo planes olive drab with the light gray underbelly. Here's a Kate. This is the Hasegawa model. It's a great artwork. It gives you a really good look at what the airplane should look like. That one looks like it has one red band on the tail, on the fuselage, so it's probably from Akagi, and that might be Fujita's airplane. Squadron leaders often, especially Fuchita, had real flashy tail schemes so everybody could tell who they were, which was, kind of common in a lot of air forces and navies back then. And then, of course, the valves. Now, you remember what I just told you about the valves should be, that light gray, that IG and green, except that some of the guys had real colorful ideas. And yes, these color palettes are correct. These guys are slapping yellow and orange and red, I guess you would call it camo schemes on them. I don't know what they were thinking. But one thing you have to remember is that at this point in the war, the Japanese had not really gone up against the First World adversary. And since a lot of the planes either only had one channel on the radio, or they used hand signals a lot and flare guns to communicate, the idea of having a flashy, gaudy airplane so you knew who it was, kind of going back to the Red Baron's flying circus a little bit. So there was that. And there are all kinds of cool paint schemes. Every one of these is a one-off. But if you're just trying to make the generic dive bomber, then you want to make it, the top center here, we have the basic Pearl Harbor attack stuff, and that's what we're talking about. You have seen plenty of Val dive bombers. Okay, that picture's not supposed to be. Oh, here we go. You've seen this, and I think that is Fuchita's airplane from the Battle of Midway. It may have been painted like that at Pearl. I'm not sure. Now, even though Midway took place only 6 months after Pearl, the Japanese had already started painting the dive bombers olive drab. Of course, Machat's law, no two airplanes are painted the same. There's always the one they don't get to, or they can't find the paint or whatever. But if you're doing Pearl Harbor, you use the gray-green. But if you're doing after about, I think it was about March of 42, they started painting them all green, and they stayed that way the rest of the war. So that's how you can look at a picture and just instantly tell. Because you look at all the pictures of the valves at Pearl Harbor, because there is film footage of them and photos of them taken off the carrier, they're all that light color. They haven't gone to all drab yet, maybe a few of them. What a lot of people don't realize is that the Japanese had actually flown, I believe it was an E-13 Jake recon plane over Pearl about 30 minutes before the attack. And he did radio back that the carriers were not in port, which I think they already knew from other intelligence sources. That was just a confirmation. These airplanes at Pearl, in fact, I have one, a little one right here. I did not build this. This was pre-made. But here's your little E-13 Jake, and it is in the light gray color that would have been appropriate for that point in time. These are also later painted olive drab. And, of course, exactly when, I've gotten different information on. I think they passed the order down. I don't know when it all went into effect. The Jake is one of those forgotten airplanes. It was to them what our Grumman Duck was, and it was actually a really good airplane. It was long ranged for a float plane. It was relatively fast. Apparently, it had no vices. The pilots loved it. It only had one machine gun for defense. It could fly a two or three man crew. I believe this is what was looking for the fleet at Pearl from the Tone that got off late and missed it. And story that I got from the pilot didn't survive the war, but the story I got from, I think it was Shattered Sword, was the ceiling was down around the top of the clouds around 4,000 feet. To get under it, they had to get down to like 600 feet. They didn't want to fly that low because they couldn't see anything. So they climbed up above the clouds where they still couldn't see anything, but now they were, like, yeah, but this is a proper altitude. I mean, go figure. Some people think he may have flown right over the fleet and just not seen it. But anyway, that
in the Shattered Sword, I think they said that the reconnaissance plane from the Tone, if it had actually taken off at the time that it was supposed to have, it would have missed the fleet because they plotted out like what it would have, what its thing was.
Right.
So that it was launched 30 minutes late, it was actually what allowed it to find the fleet. It wouldn't have found it if it was launched on time.
That's correct. Launching late did allow him to. Well, it should have allowed him to find the fleet. The scuttlebutt is that the pilot who was flying it, well, not scuttlebutt, if I remember right, the pilot who was flying it was known for being a very casual sort of guy. He didn't go in for the hardcore military stuff. He wasn't like one of the zealots. And probably one reason he was flying a reconnaissance float plane. And he was just kind of like, yeah, I like it better up here. So, no, we'll never know. He didn't survive the war, so we'll never know. But I may have him confused with somebody else. That's the thing. But the Jake is one of those airplanes that just gets forgotten. And it's kind of a shame because they were actually pretty prolific. There's some footage of them being shot down. They were almost totally defenseless.
Yeah.
But then, what recon plane wasn't?
They were hard to shoot down like that, and like Pete, another reconnaissance float plane.
Yeah, the biplane. Yeah.
They were really hard to shoot down.
Well, they were very agile.
Yeah.
And the Pete, if I'm not mistaken, even though it was a biplane with a big centerline float, I think it could do 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, it could still get up and go.
And it had forward-firing guns. It had a pair of cow guns, which most of the float planes didn't have.
Yeah.
And there were actually Petes they kind of used them as fighters on occasion, not very successfully, but
they could take on like a Catalina.
Yeah, in fact they did at Midway. 3 Petes from cruisers did shoot down a Catalina.
Yeah.
Killed half the crew, and it was when I did my documentary on that, I covered that in detail, and they had to make several passes, but they didn't shoot it down like burst into flames. But a Catalina was barely flying as it was, so they damaged it enough. They had to make an open water landing. Half the crew had been killed by gunfire or died from their wounds in the raft, and about half of them survived. But the Petes absolutely were not to be trifled with. And,
Sarah Jane had just asked if Yamamoto used the Toronto attack as the idea for the Pearl Harbor attack, and that's been dispelled because the Pearl Harbor attack was already in plans before the Toronto attack had happened.
Yes, that's absolutely right. In fact, the Japanese have been considering it for I think a couple of years.
Yeah.
The I don't know if you call it Toronto or Taranto or how you say it properly, but Taranto. But the Taranto raid, there are a lot of similarities with Pearl Harbor, to be sure. I mean, torpedo planes, but there's also a lot of differences. The one that most people are familiar with is that Pearl is very shallow.
Yeah.
They did, and I hate to say this, but good old-fashioned racism came into play. Them little nippers will never figure out how to drop a torpedo that in 40 feet of water, and the Japanese actually figured it out very quickly.
Yeah, and it was a hugely different scale too. I mean, the Taranto raid was one carrier load of swordfish,
and it was done at night, right?
Yeah, it was done at night. Whereas not just attacking Pearl Harbor itself, but just coordinating 6 carriers, the Akita Butai.
It was massive.
Getting them all the way across the entire Pacific without being seen, with no radio, coordinating 6 carrier loads of strike aircraft, getting them all coordinated up and going at the same time.
It was an impressive feat, and doing it undetected.
Yeah.
But the Americans had already figured out if they're going to attack Pearl, this is how they'll do it. So we knew what they were going to do. We just didn't catch them.
Yeah. There were some war games before. In fact, there's a Life magazine article pre-war. I think it's like July or August of 1941. It's got beautiful color photographs of Navy aircraft TVDs and the pre-war markings.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, those are good reference photos.
Yeah, there's a picture, with the caption below saying, here's the torpedo bombers coming around Diamond Head to attack Pearl Harbor. If
Mm-hmm.
this was real, they would have been detected and stopped.
Yep.
It's just ironic. That's exactly what they did.
Well, everybody knew war was brewing in the Pacific. My mom was about, I think she was about 12 years old when it happened, or 14. And when she heard it on the radio, she lived in Tampa, and my grandfather he'd been in the Navy a long time, he'd been a destroyer man, and so he understood naval operations. She went running down. They lived only about a block or so from the bay. She ran down. He was all fishing and said, Dad, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. She goes, he wasn't the least, but he didn't. He's like, sweetie. He goes, sweetie, anyone with a brain knew that was coming. And a lot of them knew it was going to be Pearl. This thing about it, they can't believe it was Pearl. A lot of people figured Pearl was really going to go because he put the fleet there. And the Japanese, there was resistance to believing they could pull that off. And I hate to say this, but it was just good old fashioned anti-Oriental, prejudice. A lot of guys were just, you can't expect, the Japanese to do something like that. The same people who said, all their fighter pilots were myopic and couldn't shoot straight.
Yeah.
And they dispelled that myth in a bloody hurry. But the innovation to put the gigantic wooden fin on the torpedo was so simple. It's like, why no one thought they could? Well, because we hadn't figured. Because we hadn't figured it out. They can't figure it out. I see. Talk about projection.
Well, the other thing too, I think is the Long Lance torpedo was probably one of the best torpedoes to begin with.
And I'm just glad that the Long Lance did not have the European style German acoustic sensing, because with its range, it didn't leave a bubble trail, and it was very. Now it was one thing people forget about that Long Lance. They paid scale apprentice here. They paid a price for that. They were very dangerous to work with, especially on submarines. You had to handle them very carefully because they could blow up in the sub or gas everybody because they were using a couple of toxic chemicals. That's why since they didn't use air, they didn't leave a bubble trail. Yeah. And that torpedo, we had the worst torpedoes of the war till about 44.
Yeah. Well, it could be dropped at a higher speed and a higher altitude too. So that's part of the reason why the Devastators were having such a problem.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Down to like 100 miles an hour.
Well, that Mark III Mod 1, 100 miles an hour and 100 feet. And I'm like, and the Devastator could only go 128 wide open, so that wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, in 36 when the Devastator came out, look at this brand new monoplane, all metal. We've got the swiftest, sleekest, and it was. Everybody else still flying by Swordfish. 2 years later, it's completely obsolete.
Well, that's true of so many airplanes, especially, like the first monoplanes that came out for just about everybody. Like you can look at like the Ferry Battle.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. This 3-man low-wing monoplane, which was faster than the biplane fighters that were around in 1938 or 1936. But
we're going to use our blistering speed as our defense.
Yeah, and then 2-3 years later, they're outdated.
Even by the end of the war, the Mosquito, which really was a fast airplane and did use speed for defense, even it was getting run down by jets.
Yep.
But here's the paint scheme for your Pearl Harbor Japanese aircraft. There, to my knowledge, was not a single olive drab zero there. I don't care what you saw in that movie, whose name we do not say. But even my own wife, who likes romantic movies and stuff, was like, I came to see a war movie, not this love triangle crap.
Yeah.
Okay, we will not speak of that anymore. But here's the answer to the question on it. Now, again, numbers on the tail markings, and the fuselage bands will tell you what carrier. So if you're doing a specific airplane, but that's the basic Japanese paint scheme up until I think March of 42 when they started painting the valves olive drab. And let me go on to our next slide. And Eric, just jump in here if you.
Yeah, I always thought that kind of greenish gray color was kind of a sexy looking color for that Zero, man.
It looks good. It's my favorite
It's
paint scheme on it.
oh, I mean,
Partly because you can see the lines of the plane because it doesn't break them up.
yeah,
But this would confuse somebody. This picture I have up now, which is, it shows that even the gray wouldn't always the same scheme if these pictures are accurate. They're from the same company. And some of them look like gray and some of them are the gray-green. And I've tried to research it, and you will drive yourself bonkers trying to figure it out. I don't know if they just printed them in the wrong color or if the planes really were that different.
is each one of those supposed to be the? So each one's the different carrier. So you
Yeah,
got
the first one on the left is the Kaga. The next one's a Shokaku. Apparently, Akagi and Suikaku, I guess they were sharing squadrons or something because he did one for both of them. And then the other one is Hiryu. I didn't have one for Soryu. And but I know that Soryu, Zuikaku, and Shokaku usually use either 2 or 3 white bands on the tail. Hiryu had 2 blue. Kaga had 2 red. Akagi had 1 red, but it shows here Zuikaku. Oh, there's the 2 white ones for Zuikaku on the number 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Zuikaku and Shokaku used white. Kaga and Akagi used red. Hiryu and Soryu used blue. 2 blue bands of Soryu, 1 blue band was Hiryu. And I'm sorry, I got that backwards. One blue band was Soryu, 2 blue bands was Hiryu.
Here you go.
This model I have on the desk here is Hiryu. But I just want to show that because I knew people, because it does get confusing. Whereas by comparison, in the Army Air Corps, it was really simple. All of our P-40s were auto drab over gray, period, with a big white number on the side and the old red dot roundel. You know, you just can't get simpler than that. There were none of them with shark's teeth, you know, in the Air Force because we didn't do that. And the Taylor and Welch were, you can find decals in any scale for both their P-40Bs.
I would disagree with you on that. I believe Wild Bill Kelso.
Well, he had the prototype E model also, so, you know. Ba-da-bum, 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 bum. Oh, man, I should have used that music in the intro. I didn't think about that.
Stars at night.
Exam. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Don't get us started. I do love the Airfix box art showing the P-40 taking off under fire.
Yeah.
With the zeros up there, and that's actually not that is not an inaccurate picture, and I will tell you why. You probably already know this. The reason, and it's brought up Tora. The guys were up at Haleiwa. Now, contrary to what you see in the movie, the commanding officer, you know, sends them up there to disperse some of the planes. Actually, the whole squadron, I think, was up there for a gunnery exercise. And but when they got there, the guys only had 30 cal ammunition. The P-40B model, which this is, has 4 30 calibers, 2 in each wing. The 50 calibers are in the cowling. I wish that was a 20 millimeter cannon in the center, but it's actually a scoop, an intake. But they just jumped up, emptied their ammunition, and shot down a couple of planes using only 30 calibers. They did land, I think it was at Wheeler, if I remember right, and got the airplanes reloaded under fire and then took off again and went back into combat. They probably would have gotten medals of honor if their flight had been authorized, but since it was self-initiated, they had to, you know, suffice with distinguished service crosses, I believe it was. There were, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, we shot down 29 Japanese aircraft. 14 were shot down by American aircraft that got airborne. Welch got 4 and Taylor got 2 credits, I think.
Yeah.
Rasmussen got 1. A couple other guys did. About 7 or 9 guys got airborne and got a kill.
Yeah, and Rasmussen was in a P-36.
Right.
I met or worked with his granddaughter.
And the P-36, this is one of the airplanes I want to talk about that people forget was there.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was the only P-36 pilot the kid had killed, or maybe he was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think there was one other guy that got some kill, or at least a kill with the P-36 besides Rasmussen.
Yeah. And although it was no match for a Zero, they had a pretty target-rich environment. So, um,
Well, I don't know which model of the P-36 that they were using, but before they slapped the armor plate and the extra stuff on it, the P-36 was actually a pretty nimble aircraft.
so was the Brewster Buffalo.
Yeah, so was the Buffalo.
Oh, the Finns love the Buffalo, and even old Jimmy Thatch had flown the early models and
Yeah,
said, "Oh, they were joy." He said they outstripped the Wildcat in every way that you can.
yeah, yeah. I think Boeington even said that was one of his favorite aircraft.
He did,
The
but
pre-war Buffaloes.
but when they slapped 800 pounds of armor and everything else on, and the Buffalo, I don't know what it was, but it always had problems with bad solenoids and the guns not firing or jamming. I don't think they ever worked that out. It had a weird mix of guns too. But I know the Finns made it work.
Well,
But
Brewster was never known for their quality control on their production, so.
well, also, yeah, Brewster. It's so bad that the government took it over. Um, the Brits and the Dutch had limited success with them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah. I just made a Matchbox Buffalo and the Dutch markings, and was doing some research on the Dutch use, and they their biggest challenge was they were just so heavily outnumbered.
yeah,
So
absolutely, and they didn't have much in the way of support either.
so they quickly figured out to strip everything out of those aircraft to be able to tangle with them, but they were just so outnumbered. That they just didn't stand a chance. They got up, shoot at some, we have this fight, and then here come another 20.
Yep, here come another 20. That was uphill both ways. It literally was uphill both ways. Yes, we are going to get to the JRS-1. I do have a picture loaded for it. We're going to talk about that. There were a lot of I did a documentary on the 7 civilian aircraft that were in the air during the attack. But people forget, including Navy, how many planes flew into the battle. Not just the B-17s. But we are going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But
P-26 is still on the field, on like Wheeler Field.
What were
P-26s?
there were now? Hold on, hold on. Then let me bring something up here about the P-26. That seems to be it seems to be a bone of some contention, because I was looking at this very thing today, because I know after the attack on Pearl Harbor, a bunch of P-26s painted black were used for night intercept defense because it's what they had.
Yeah.
But I don't. But several sources say they weren't there during the attack. That the only 9 P-26s that stayed in inventory to 43 were in the Panama Canal Zone. That these airplanes were actually pulled from the Philippines. But other people are like, no, they were there. And I'm like, no one really. I don't think anybody really knows.
Well, isn't there a picture of a P-26 like with its tail knocked off on like Wheeler Field or something?
There may be. Of course, it might have been a gig. I don't know. There's a lot of confusion about that. I think it's the second attack on Pearl Harbor. The March raid with the Emily flying boats. They'd mentioned that right after Pearl, they painted a bunch of P-26s black and used them to go up at night to patrol. Which I'm thinking, well, that meant they had to be at Pearl unless they shipped them in immediately after it happened.
Yeah, why would you ship P-26?
Exactly. Well, that's what you have. I know the Philippines used them, and one guy actually shot down a couple of Zeros in one. When they were fighting the Claudes, they were a little more evenly matched. But that was an airplane that never even should have been in our inventory. But, the military was so strapped for money back then. But I have read very conflicting sources on that. And I'm sure your information's better than mine. One airplane that everybody knows was at Pearl Harbor. Actually, there were a bunch of them at Pearl Harbor because we've all seen the photo of the one that's with the broken wing. Of course, is the Catalina.
Yeah.
And the Catalinas, the guys were trying to get them out of the hangars and stuff and everything, and they were trying to move the planes to quote unquote safe location. Like that existed in the middle of that attack, but they were there, and I think both the 5s and the 5As were present.
How many Catalinas did they destroy when they were making tour?
Well, I pray to God those are
They're,
mock-ups.
yeah, they're showing a few of those getting blown up. I know. They don't have engines on them because you can see, the cowling's got just like a piece of plywood inside there behind the prop. But I think the aircraft were actually they were like derelict planes that they destroyed in that.
I actually know where there's a derelict Catalina. Well, I think it's gone now. I know where there was a derelict Catalina that had flown about 10 years ago, 12 years ago in Puerto Rico. I used to see it parked out there. And some Australians, I think, had bought it with the intent of rebuilding it, but they ran out of money, so it just sat there, which is not a good thing for a plane to do in Puerto Rico. They also had a DC-4 sitting out there, and then a hurricane came and took care of it, and it knocked the DC-4 off its gear, and it was like, it's enough to make you weep. But the Catalinas, now here's a little curiosity. If you notice behind this Catalina, that's an Avenger with the red and white tail. Now, just to pick a nit, the Avengers never went into combat with red and white tails. They did come to the factory that way, very early on, the straight TBMs, but TBFs. But the rule to get rid of those red and white tails came about after Coral Sea. So when Langdon Fieberling took the very first 6 TBFs into combat at Midway, they had the gray tail. They had been painted over. So there should not be a TBF with a red and white tail. The Catalinas, however, there is footage of them with the red and white tails well into 42. Because, like I say, you can pass down an order, look, he's out in the field in the middle of the South Pacific, he ain't got 5 buckets of gray paint.
Yeah.
Plus, people forget, you don't just slap paint on a flight control surface. You paint it, it's got to be balanced out. It's got to be taken off and balanced.
Yep.
And you go slapping, slobbing heavy enamel paint onto and changing the weight and balance on a control surface, you are begging for disaster. Now, you can put anything on the fuselage, but
there's a great picture taken right around I want to say March, April of 42, and I think it's of the Enterprise's deck. It's a top-down shot, and you see, a couple dozen aircraft, mostly SBDs, a few Wildcats, and a couple of Devastators, I think. And you see about 8 different versions of markings.
Yep.
Some still have the small insignia. Some have the large.
Yep, we're actually going to be getting into that in just a minute. That's Machat's Law to the 10th power.
Yeah, there's even a couple of them that have 2 insignia. You see the small insignia
and the big one over it, and it's not even centered on top of it. It's sticking out the side. I'm like,
because there's the Navy would issue the regulation and say, oh, it needs to touch this point and touch that point, but
well, I'm not spending 2 days scrubbing off the old stuff.
Yeah, well, and then somebody on the carrier had to interpret. Well, did they mean this line or did they mean and sometimes they wouldn't think these things through. They would come up with say, okay, it's got to be a 24-inch circle, diameter circle, right? Well, on a Wildcat, it would fit, but on this plane, it wouldn't, or so you'd end up with these strange variations of markings, and they finally started figuring out, wait, sometimes we got to give different sizes for different airplanes.
There was a Thunderbolt squadron in Europe. We've all seen the guys who, somebody makes a toy of a Thunderbolt or something, and it's got a star on every wing with the bar. They weren't painted that way. And sure enough, I see a Thunderbolt, a World War II photograph of Thunderbolt with stars on both sides of both wings. I'm like, what? And one of the glue troopers told me, oh yeah, the squadron, they were tired of getting shot at by friendly fire, so they put oversized markings on the top and bottom of both wings. Like, okay, well, you see, you learned something new.
Yeah. That was initially when they put 2 stars on the bottom wings on all the Thunderbolts that were in the UTO because they were being confused for FWs.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were the only other radial engine planes, so everyone was shooting at them when they first got there. So
which is why the Mustangs got the white bands on the wings. They were getting tired of everybody thinking they were Messerschmitts.
Yep.
Now, somebody just mentioned the Shrikes that were there. I did see some information. There were some old A-12 Shrikes there. The most dangerous thing you could have done with that airplane in World War II was go fly in it.
Yeah.
It was like the P-26. It was horribly outdated. But I don't know if they were using them for squadron hacks or what, but they were apparently still there. As was one of my favorite airplanes as a kid, the mighty OS-2U Kingfisher. And it is accurate in this scheme with the red dot and the red and white stripes because they had not gotten around to doing that. And there are pictures of them on the ships, on the catapults like that.
There was a land-based squadron at Pearl as well too.
Yes, and somebody just sent me some pictures of a model they made of it.
Yeah,
And
I did a kit review of, I forget which one it was, of the Kingfisher. And when I was doing the research, one of the markings that's on there is the squadron that was shore based at the time of Pearl Harbor, and there was like a dozen of them, parked around the hangar. And those, a couple of them were still in the pre-war markings too. They were still things on them, so they were still behind on painting those things.
Well, they were behind on painting all of them. Plus, the rules kept changing. There was I gave elder care to a radio man gunner who had been on the Duck and the Kingfisher, and he was up in Dutch Harbor when it got bombed. They actually flew into it in the middle of the raid, so he and the pilot went and ducked into a cloud until it. I was like, you guys don't want to duke it out with them, your mighty 30 caliber? But he said that the Kingfisher, he actually preferred the Duck because he said the Duck could just get off the water. It was a Grumman, roar, and go flying. But he said the Kingfisher, a lot of times if the water was really still, they had to have a destroyer cut a wake so they could go and kind of use it like a ski ramp. It had a little trouble getting up on the step because they put a small engine in it deliberately to keep it from, drinking a lot of gas or being heavy.
Yeah.
To get long range. And of course, we've all seen the pictures of the Kingfishers with the guys on the wings. They'd land and pick up people in the water and either taxi to the nearest ship or just, work as a lifeboat, which...
Yeah. They were built for two different purposes. The Kingfisher was, specifically designed to be an observation scout plane.
Right.
Whereas the Duck was, a utility aircraft.
It was a utility. That's exactly correct. Much more robust, much heavier, had more room in it. You could put people in that sponson too.
Yeah.
On the Duck, that big side. There apparently was a little door you could crawl people in there if you had to.
Yeah, well, you just slap them on the wings of the Kingfisher.
Heck yeah, man! And watch the airplane slowly sink. It's a smaller airplane than a lot of people realize. You get up thinking, "Oh wow, this thing is tiny."
There's a beautifully restored one at the Smithsonian too.
Yeah, but you go up to a Duck, it's a big airplane.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a big aircraft.
Now the SBD is the one that gets really, really confusing because the Navy and the Marines mark theirs differently.
Mm-hmm.
Also, some squadrons had stars on all wings and some didn't. Later in the war, they started putting that gigantic star right behind the gunner on the side of the fuselage. And all of a sudden, the stars on the wings went from the leading edge to the trailing edge. It was a big "don't shoot me by mistake" sign.
Yeah.
But this particular one was a commander of the Enterprise group that did fly into the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, if I remember my math right, they lost 2 of them to the Japanese and 5 of them to the Americans. Now, I may be wrong about that. But apparently they got jumped by Zeros. And I think the rear gunner on one of them shot a Zero down, I believe. But I think 2 of them were shot down by the Japanese. But when them and the fighters came into land, our guys started shooting at them because they looked just like a freaking Zero. Yeah. And they were flying the recognition pattern, but everybody was. They were shooting at anything that flew overhead.
Yeah. They were shooting at anything.
They shot at the B-17s. And but this is how now this one I tried to find out about this gray rudder, and it's one of 2 things. Either they had just blotted out the stripes and with a primer and hadn't gotten around to painting it the proper navy gray blue, or the commander had his rudder stay that color so everybody could tell he was the commander. It was like an identifier. I really don't know what the story is on that, but this is supposed to be an accurate representation.
Well, I can tell you one thing that's inaccurate on it is that diagonal white stripe on the tail should only be on one side. It shouldn't be on both sides. That's a unique thing for enterprise aircraft.
Uh-huh.
It's to help the LSO uh,
Right.
make sure that they're landing at the right angle, so
Uh-huh.
they don't need it on. They didn't need that stripe on the right side of the aircraft because the LSO wouldn't see it.
Oh.
So lot of model kits, a lot of paintings and stuff have the stripe on both sides, and it's actually on the enterprise aircraft. It was only on one.
You know, right now, about 20 people are looking up pictures to see if they can see the stripe on both sides.
Yeah, and then you know the aircraft, the writing on the side of the aircraft, like the squadron mark, the squadron numbers and individual aircraft numbers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Enterprise used black, and I think Yorktown used white, and I don't remember what Lexington was, but there was variations in that as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them would have the numbers up on the cowling, on the front lip of the cowling. Some would have them on the front of the airfoil, around the landing gear area. There was, as uniform as the Navy is, there was still, even in the pre-war stuff, there's still variations in the way stuff was being done.
Oh yeah, yeah. Every crew chief interprets it differently. Artello brings up Ed Nash. I saw that he did a video on the predecessor to the duck, the loaning, and I didn't realize how good an airplane the loaning was. And I think loaning was helped him design the duck. But by the way, Scale Model Apprentice, to answer your question, it's better to be cunning and brutal. If you're brutal, you better be cunning because people come looking for revenge. If you're cunning and brutal, they're usually not around to strike revenge. That's my 2 cents. So it could have been a replacement rudder. It's always possible. And now, just to keep up with the confusion of the SBDs, though, this is a Marine Corps one. And they were not painted exactly the same. Also, the Marines usually had older ones. The Navy usually got the new equipment, and the Marines got the hand-me-downs. In fact, at Midway, Lofton Henderson's guys had only had their SBDs a couple of weeks or maybe a month. They were all really green, and they were the old, I think, Dash 2s.
Yeah, the initial SBD production was the Dash 1s, and those all Marines because the Navy was waiting for the Dash 2s. So the Marine Corps, it's one of the few cases where the Marine Corps introduced an aircraft before the Navy did.
Mm. Now, one thing, if you look at an SBD, and you look on top of the cowling, you see that scoop?
Yeah.
If you see one with a round cowling and no scoop, I believe that was the Dash 5.
Yeah, the SBD-1 had a really high hump scoop.
Yeah.
The 2, 3, and 4 had a flatter scoop. And then you can also tell by the number of the cowl flaps.
Cowl flaps, yeah.
Cowl flaps changed, and then there's also a little like a cooling slot behind the cowl flaps that changed shape and size. But other than those couple of little things, I mean, the SBD was virtually an identical aircraft from first one that rolled off the line to the last one that rolled off the line. I mean, there's internal changes and this, that, and the other, but as far as like just the basic structure,
if you can fly one, you can fly them all.
It was an almost identical plane,
and it was because Douglas got it right the first time around.
Yeah, Heinemann was the man.
He was really, really was. The Wildcat. My understanding is there were Wildcats at Pearl, mainly coming in from the fleet, but I don't think any of them, although some were shot down by our people, I think at least one pilot killed, but I don't think they got any, I don't think they shot anything down. And, but it was there, and, the one thing the Wildcat had over the Buffalo, it had that robust Grumman gear on it.
That's classic. A box art?
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, that's Hasegawa?
That looks like a Bill Campbell from Hawk.
When I first saw it, I thought it was an Aurora or something. Or I was like, that's it. I don't know what the story was on that. I got off of Scale Mates where I got most of these. But
not the usual Hasegawa look.
It does not look like their usual stuff. We already talked about the E13, Jake. Okay, so let's go. Um, we talked about that. Oh, am I going backwards here? Okay, we talked about the P40s. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Here we go. Okay. We were mentioning the Grumman Duck. I'm not really. I don't know if this was a model kit or a decal set. I'm not familiar with Loot Graph. But anyway, I like the artwork though because this looks pretty much like what an early war duck would look like with the old markings on it. You know, post neutrality colors.
Yeah.
And you can see this one looks like he's lugging a bomb or a depth charge.
So that looks like a depth charge.
And you know, submarines is they were tough on other ships, but they didn't have a lot of anti-aircraft defense. Airplanes were kind of their mortal enemy, and that little airplane with that little depth charge could sink a sub if you pulled it off.
Oh, absolutely.
We know Murphy tried in Murphy's War.
Yeah.
Of course, in the book, he was actually flying a fairy swordfish because I do not believe the British ever used the duck.
But, they did.
But heck, Civil Air Patrol sank a submarine with a small bomb, small depth charge. It was on it from like a Stinson or something. And I don't know if it was the Gulf of Mexico or where it was, but I mean, can you imagine being a U-boat commander explaining that your boat got sunk by a Civil Air Patrol pilot in a Stinson?
What about the U-boat commander got his boat sunk by a blimp?
Well, yeah, but they also shot a blimp down off Miami too. So, man, those blimps were pretty heavily armed. They carried a lot. They carried a whole rack of explosives and depth charges. And what about the U-boat commander who lost his boat to a backed-up marine toilet?
Yeah.
I think was it what's his name? We all watch his stuff. The British guy does all the history videos. Mark Felton. It was him or the history guy or somebody covered that one. It's like, yeah, they fouled the thing. They just kept pumping poop and water into the sun. I was like, oh, wow. That is not a good day.
Yeah.
Oops.
Hey, there's that mystery about the one blimp that went out and then came back and the crew was gone.
Yes, I did see the one on that. They think that one of them fell out, the other tried to help him and probably went overboard also.
Yeah.
And that is just not a good day.
No.
I'm sorry, that just begs to be a UFO story. It was abducted.
Yeah. Well,
now,
if Blimp would have been, patrolling the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, oh my God. Now, we all know the B-17's going into Pearl.
Yeah.
However, some of them were C's and some of them were, I believe, E's. And by the way, as a side note, I was watching 1941 again last night just for kicks and giggles, the Wild Bell Kelso section, where that B-17 that when he's trying to get old, what's her name in the air. I looked at it and went, holy crap, that does look like an early, like a D or a C model or E model. And
that's actually the CAS Sentimental Journey.
Yes, they had pulled the turrets and put the tape to give the framing, and I thought it was nice that they put that much attention to detail.
Yeah, for as goofy a movie as it is, I mean, they actually spent a lot of time making things accurate.
Well, it was Spielberg, and he's got an eye for accuracy. That's like the Lee tank that they had. Or Grant. They actually got an M7 Priest and removed the top because they had the same drivetrain and everything. Yeah. And that was all plywood buildup because the Sherman wasn't around yet, and they wanted an accurate tank. So I was like, it's cool to go through all that kind of trouble.
They easily could have used a Sherman, and 95% of people watching it would have just gone along with it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I really appreciate the effort that they put into it. Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. Can we fix the tank? There are 4 major components to the GE refrigerator and then the compressor. After he took the whack on the head, I'm a bug.
Did you catch the name of the tank? He calls it the same thing as the tank in Sahara with Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, they're both called Lulu Bell.
That's just making the connection to the two. By the way, did you know that Sahara story was actually not that contrived? There was a American tanker group that was in battle before we were in the war out in there, kind of like in the movie, but they didn't get lost.
Yeah.
But they were fighting with the Brits, and they were like, "Screw it, what are you going to do? Send me to the desert?" But that tank was, I guess they tore it down when they were done and maybe put the stuff back on. You know, I remember back in the 70s and the 80s, this stuff wasn't as rare, as valuable as it is now. It was just old equipment. But the movie, I still sometimes use a line from that movie whenever I do something stupid. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go home, paint the scratches on the tank, and pretend this night never happened.
Have you ever seen the director's cut of it?
I don't think so.
It's about 30 to 40 minutes longer.
Wow.
And it fills in like like if you're, it really doesn't change the story all that much, but for somebody who's like a real aficionado of it, it kind of fills in the backstory of a number of things.
Oh.
Like the guy that the zoot suiter, dancer guy, the way he gets his zoot suit, they show him and his blonde buddy going into like a Macy's, and they got this big Christmas present box, and so they go in. The guy tries on his zoot suit, and the salesman's like, "Oh, this is a $30 suit. What do you think I can't afford this?" He's like giving him grease. They go into the dressing room, and his blonde buddy comes in there with the box. He's like, "This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work." They open up the box, and it's an air raid siren. So they start cranking the air raid siren up, and everyone's all, ah! He runs with the zoot suit that he then is wearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the man on the radio said, "War nerves."
Yeah, so there's a whole scene of how people are going crazy in the store.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like we do here in Florida for a hurricane.
Yeah.
So
there's I'd say 4 or 5 additional backstories to things that go on in the movie that you pick up little hints of these things in the movie itself. Like the zoot suit guy later on, you see a little smoke coming up from behind him. Well, there's a scene that was cut where the army guy lit the back of his zoot suit on fire. And, so
Treat Williams.
yeah. Little things here and there, but if you can get the DVD or Blu-ray, that's got the
okay.
It's well worth it.
Well, the B-17s that landed at Pearl, they did have guns on them, but no ammo, and the guns were all locked away. They weren't, sticking on the side of the plane, so there was nothing they could do. I would have just stuck the barrel out and waved it at them, try and scare them off. But the one that you see that burned in half was not shot down. After they landed, it was they were getting riddled, and it was strafed, and the flare, where they hold the flare gun, all the flares, got hit and started burning, and that's what burned the airplane up on the ground.
Yeah.
Although a couple of people on board, well, at least one person was killed by machine gun fire. But the B-17s, most of them were patched up, and I think that's where the movie Air Force begins. But,
yeah.
Anyway, so but they did have a couple of different versions of it, and it was just, God, can you imagine what a flying B-17 of that vintage a C model would be worth? There's hardly any of them in museums.
So somebody's putting one together.
Yeah. Then, of course, as mentioned, we have the JRS-1, which flew in the middle of battle. And this poor airplane had the dubious task of being sent out to go find the Japanese fleet once they left. Yeah, I'm right on that, sir. Let me take my slow-moving unarmed float plane and go out here and go find 6 Japanese carriers and 300 fighters.
Oh, I got something that matches that. Hold on.
But that airplane is in this. I believe that one's in the Air and Space now, or is it the Air Force? Air and Space, I believe.
I got a wood version of it.
Oh, really? Hold on. Let me turn this picture off for a second. Okay, I've really got to quit hitting that button. There we go. Oh, there it is. There you go.
Yeah, this is a solid wood. I believe it's a Strombecker.
Probably.
that was built because it's hardwood, supposed to the balsa that a lot of them are. But yeah,
You know, it's you look at that, and then you look at like a Zero or something like that, and you realize these airplanes are all in the sky at the same time, but they look like they're from two different eras of aviation.
yeah,
But they are not. They are, and another one, of course, that never gets any love, which was what we had on hand, was the mighty B-18 Bolo.
mm-hmm.
Basically a DC-3 with a bomb bay. I think there's one of these things still flying. I know there's one in a museum.
B-18.
I don't know
I
if
know
it's...
there's.
Hmm?
I know there's some B-23s that are still flying.
Yes. Now, I don't know if this B-18 flies. I think it does, or they're getting it in flying
Yeah.
condition. But there is one that's like fully equipped.
There's a few. I think there's one at Wright Patterson. There's one at March Field has one, and I think there's one at what's one in Arizona? Davis Motham.
Pima?
Yeah, Pima. I think Pima's got a B-18 as well.
I know they got the B-23 because I saw that when I was there.
Yeah, I think they've got a B-18 there too.
And although it didn't really do anything in the battle, it was there. And another one, and here's the thing, there were A-20s there, and two of them were destroyed on the ground. They did not get in the air. They did not do any fighting, but they were there. You may recall in the movie Tora Tora Tora, the Zero that shot down goes crash in the hangar. When it goes in the hangar, it hits a single-tail airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was a derelict B-25 that they built a straight tail on. And that was what you saw. They really did crash. That was a real stunt. That wasn't miniatures. That was, I think it was Tallman was behind that because he knew that there were some A-20s there. And as long as they wanted to have this derelict crashing, saying, well, look, this plane doesn't have a tail. We got to make a tail for it. A-20s were there. Let's put the straight tail on it so like an A-20 and keep the movie more accurate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe. I mean, by their standards of the day, it was a total derelict. Today, somebody would rebuild it.
Were there A-18 or A-17 or A-18, the Douglas attack, single engine attack?
I know there were Shrikes, but I think that's the A-17, right?
Yeah, the Shrikes, the like A-9, A-12, A-17. The Douglas, the A-18 is like one of the kind of the grandfather of the Dauntless. They had fixed wing. They got a fixed undercarriage, and then the retractable undercarriage one. I don't remember if there were any of those at Pearl.
Well, now wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Curtiss A-18. That was a twin.
No.
That Curtiss A-18. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It looks a lot like a Messerschmitt Bf-110 with radial engines.
Yeah. It looks like Cass Wayne. He was also saying that he thinks there might have been A-18s there.
There might have been. That was. Okay, wait a minute. I think the A-18 was that like an A-17 with a radial engine instead of an inline.
No,
Curtiss made the A-18 Shrike, and that had
the Douglas one was the A-17.
Oh, okay. I'm getting
myself.
Oh, it looks like an elongated SBD. Kind of looks like the Vindicator.
Yeah. So the A-17 has fixed gear. The A-17A has retractable gear.
Oh, that was a Northrop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it was one of the first modern-looking airplanes that they had. And I think you're right. I think they had a fixed gear and a retract, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, they all go back to the Northrop Gamma.
Yeah. I think it was the A-33 when they put the retract on it or something. I forget. Stuff gets so confusing. Okay. Here, we can develop from the Northrop Gamma. Okay, all right. Northrop A-17 and Douglas A-333, which was a variant. Well, Northrop worked for Douglas, right?
Well, Northrop was a
Subsidiary. Okay. All right.
of Douglas at one point, and then he split to go make his own separate Northrop, and then that's when the Dauntless was then taken over by Douglas, and Heinemann stayed with Douglas.
Okay.
And Jack Northrop went and made his own company again.
I'll just start another airplane company. Yeah. There were probably a few of them there because this stuff lingers around in the background, and I imagine it probably were. And there are kits of them out there, I would imagine, but they're kind of, well, you know what? Now you got me curious. Time to hop over to Mighty Scalemates and let's put in A17 and see what pops up. Let's go static model kits. 335. Okay, propeller aircraft. Northrop A17. We have a winner. Also, the Douglas DB-8A. God, these planes, they kept renaming the bloody things.
I think DB-8A was the export name.
Ah.
Then that was Douglas Bomber Model 8.
I'm seeing wood and resin. I don't know if this Jeremy models.
I remember some vacuum form versions of it in the 70s, 80s.
I think I actually have a vac kit that somebody sent me in the shed. No, MPM makes one. MPM makes several versions of it.
I'm sure somebody's, there's got to be, a few of them by now. I mean,
MPM makes 4 versions. No, 5, 6, 7. They make 7 versions. They make the Saab, which I forgot. Didn't Saab make a copy of it or something?
I think we sold the production rights to them.
Yeah, because it had Swedish markings. And then we've got one in over South America. Then we've got the Saab again. Then we've got one in Norwegian or Iraqian. What's the upside down orange triangle? That's Dutch.
The Canadians even had some. They called them Nomads.
Oh, cool! Nice name. Oh, there it is. Nomad Mark 1 by Special Hobby. Interesting paint scheme.
South Africa got a few. It's one of those. It's that kind of. There's also that Volti.
Oh yeah.
Right, that was sold to all these, like Siam and Turkey. They all bought 4.
Yeah. These are what I call historically invisible airplanes.
Yeah.
They were out there sometimes in bigger numbers than we realize.
Yeah.
But they just kind of get forgotten to history.
Yeah. And they're all part of that generation, that first generation of
monoplanes, retracts, all metal. Yeah.
With motors that were putting out, 450 horsepower.
Yeah.
And so it was great in 1935. It could smoke a P-12.
Yep.
But 5 years later, BF-109s are tearing them apart.
When I read that book, The Secret Horsepower Race of World War II, and it started talking about everything, the thing about the radials is you can just put more rows on there and get a more powerful engine.
Yeah.
Of course, you're making your extra power on the margin because that's a lot of extra weight. The inline engines were really where the push was. All the technology was going. Yeah. And you read about the problems the inline engines had, and you realize when they started making jets, they still hadn't worked out all the problems. Yeah. The engines were never perfected. Radials kind of were, but the inlines never were. They still had hot spots and problems with super. And then the jet came by and they're like, screw it, we don't need them anymore. They
were trying so many different, cylinder arrangements. You had your V, you had your H's, you had your X's, you had hyper engines, you had sleeve valves.
I think it was a Tempest. You had to have the crew chief start the thing because they were so finicky to get running.
There were so many different things out there.
Was the Tempest with the H engine that was filling the cockpit full of carbon monoxide, so you always had to wear your oxygen mask regardless.
The Hawker Typhoon had the Napier Sabre engine.
That's it.
And yeah, you had to be on oxygen at startup to shutdown because it was leaking carbon monoxide into the cockpit all the time.
But man, that baby performed.
Yeah,
Well, the next thing I was going to get into is some of the since Pearl Harbor, some of the Pearl Harbor sets, and I think we all remember the MPC with the vacuum formed
yeah,
bases. I think I might have had this. I know I had the World War One Red Baron one,
yeah.
and
It's got the silk bow, right?
yeah. I did not know the Japanese painted their planes silver. um, but I was like, why is the P? Even as a kid, I was like, why is the P-40 the wrong color? I saw Tora. It's supposed to
Yeah.
be green.
Now I wonder if that's it because that's like a whole mess of army guys.
Yeah, it's just stuff they had that they could rearrange and sell.
Well, something that I didn't realize is it's something I think we're having a bit of a conversation with Paul Adams, New Zealand. I came across one of these with an NPC kit that had and ground crew or something like that, and I always thought that they were just throwing in the Airfix the soft plastic
Uh huh.
8 figures, right?
Right.
These they looked like those guys, but they were molded in styrene, hard plastic on a separate tree. And Paul, did some research on it. And there's like 4 or 5 different sets of those. Depending on which kit you got. Here's Air Force Group A. Here's Air Force Group B. Uh, so they weren't just the little.
So it wasn't something they just had on the shelf they threw in there.
Yeah, I thought that's what they always were, but they weren't. But this one, I bet this is hey, they gave you a tree of soldiers.
Yeah. Yeah, that was about as cheesy as it got. I love that the Val's making us pass with his hook down, and that a dive bomber is like, well, they did actually strafe some, so that would. But I'm glad he's doing a strafing run with his hook down, so maybe they can snag him.
Yeah, well, yeah, they got to get one of those guys.
Yeah, I got to hook him a prisoner.
Yeah,
And,
interrogate.
but so that's okay. Godzilla's going to get him on the way back to Japan. But that was probably the cheesiest of their little sets that they had. At least with the Red Baron when you got 2 airplanes. And I'm not sure, but I think that P-40, I don't know if it was a separate thing or if it was molded into the. I think it was probably just molded into the stamped base.
Into the vacuum form base. Yeah.
But but that was I even as a kid I knew that was a cheesy set. It didn't stop me from getting it, but I knew how cheesy it was. But but some of the people
Molded base 40. Does that say 48 HO scale?
and what are they doing putting them in HO scale for God's sakes?
That
It says 1/72nd scale kit includes Hickam Field molded base, 48 HO scale U.S. Army troops, and 1 Val dive bomber.
so that's a full box of those Airfix figures. 48. Man, that's a lot.
Well, it's because that's the way it was prepackaged. I figure, I don't know why. They probably had a truckload of the things left, and we're just trying to unload. How can we unload these things? Let's throw them in and do this. Make a vac base. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Now, this is actually from Airfix. Is actually not a half bad set. You get the Kate, the Zero, and the P-40. Only thing missing is a Val. But and of course it comes with the paintbrushes and everything. So I'm like, that's actually not a bad little setup. I don't know about that red stripe on the wing of the Val. I guess he's got 2 bars, so I think he is from Shokaku.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's the squadron leader. And so that may be an accurate paint job. I mean, why not? They got the Zero, I think, is from Akagi. And of course, that's probably Taylor or Welch chasing him down. So
You know what the white stripes and the horizontal tail surface is for?
that is for Windrift, I believe.
For the tail gunner.
Well, okay. I mean, isn't so he can sit back and look and tell them if they're the wind drift over the ocean?
Yeah.
Oh, that might help him with aiming. I don't know. It might have some other use.
How much how much lead you have to give depending on how far over you're pointing your tail gun.
Ah, okay. That's cool.
on the first stripe, you only have to do this much lead. Because the tail gun on it had the big, giant, like spider web sight, and each ring corresponded to one of those lines.
Ah. Well, it didn't do much good when Jimmy Thatch went after Tomonaga at Midway. And I mean, it's I found it interesting that the squadron commander of the fighter squadron shot down the squadron commander of the torpedo squadron, who was a Pearl Harbor veteran. So I was like, well, that's coming full circle.
Looks like Paul Adams said that the P-40 was part of the vacuum form base.
Yeah, that makes sense. I figured it would be. They weren't going to throw another kit in there.
Yeah.
And they do look like the Green Army Men figures. So then but I think the Airfix, if you're going to get a Pearl Harbor set, at least I think they did it right. And there was one other that I forgot to put in here, where it comes with I think a bomber and a small off-scale model of the Arizona.
I wonder if the red stripe on the Kate is like the chevron stripes that were used on the U.S. Navy pre-war aircraft. That would be the element leader.
Probably, I would imagine it had. Yeah, I imagine it had said something to other people in the squadron. Here's the boss. Let's go form up on him.
Yeah, and then on the Navy ones, that chevron was supposed to be used for. That was to help the wingmen position themselves.
Oh, okay.
By looking at where they were in relationship to that line, they were supposed to be in line with that line.
Sort of a proto formation light.
Yeah, kind of.
That makes perfect sense. And they lost a bunch of Kates because mostly I think they lost more torpedo planes than anything else, because when they make their runs by after the first pass, the gunners on all the ships had them all lined up and had them dialed in, and they lost like 3 Kates in one track because the gunners had to arrange at that point and were just lighting them up as they came through. One of the things those disadvantages gunners had, I believe the Japanese were using drum-fed machine guns, so you had like 42 or 50, something like that rounds, and you had to reload.
Yeah, the rear guns on those were basically Lewis guns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically. And
7.7, I think.
Yeah. The thing is those guns, a lot of aircraft had a single 30 cal for defense because, again, they were used to fighting off biplanes.
Yeah.
That were maybe armed with 230 cals. Yeah. And the technology is, so, the Avenger got a 50 cal, the Helldiver and the later Dauntless is twin 30s. And they started up-gunning those things because they were like, look, this ain't going to get it anymore. But the Japanese, I think, had that kind of defense for the whole war. They never...
Yeah, they really didn't do too much different to them. The Brits swapped out the Lewis guns for Vickers K guns.
Yeah.
And those Vickers K guns were pretty hot guns because those things could fire upwards of over 1,000 rounds a minute.
They... when they retired, I think it was the mid-1980s or late 1980s, the British retired their last Vickers gun. They had a outstanding, robust reputation to be extremely reliable. And they said, let's just see how long this thing will go without stopping. So they just kept linking ammo and pouring oil over the barrel and water. Just kept shooting, and they burned the barrel out. But I think they went a few 100,000 rounds before it. I don't even think it may have overheated again. It may just run out of ammo. They said they were shocked that it was, even despite its reputation, it was even more reliable than they thought.
That's the water cooled Vickers.
Yeah, because you just got the condenser, so you can keep going, just rat tat tat.
Yeah, well, as long as that was such a good gun, as long as you had water, you could keep water going in that jacket. That thing would go 20,000, 30,000 rounds.
Oh yeah.
But I was referencing the what they call the Vickers K gun.
Oh, okay.
Which still looks like the Lewis. It's a gas operated. And it's got a flat drum on top, but it's a different mechanism, and that was designed specifically to be used. It was a modification of a Vickers Berthier light machine gun that was in competition with the Bren, and so they went with the Bren instead of the Vickers Berthier, but they saw with the Vickers Berthier you could get this high rate of fire. So the Air Ministry was interested in it. They cranked it up even further, so it could fire north of 1,000 rounds a minute, because they knew at the higher speeds they had to throw lead fast.
Yeah, you had to have a lot of throw weight.
You had to shoot a lot of bullets if you were planning on hitting something that was going at this point now 300, 350 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Downside of it was still a drum. It was still a
Yep.
100.
You were empty in 3 seconds.
Yeah, it was a 100-round drum magazine, so you're just like, bap, that's it. Change your drum.
Yeah, I ran looked at the picture. I know the gun you're talking about. Yeah, and yeah, Paul's right. It is the SAS used them on their Jeeps too. These twin mounts sometimes, and
Yeah.
that was the thing is that that's one of the big disadvantages our F-86s had over the MiGs. The MiG, even though it had a slower rate of fire, it had more throw weight. That 37, those 223s,
Yeah.
the 650 calibers, the guys that say I'm gunning a MiG, and it's just he's taking hits. He's just not going down,
Yeah.
and which is of course why we switched to 20 millimeters. But it's basically today it'd be the same philosophy as a minigun. You know, get a lot lead head going down range.
Yeah.
And that was the idea behind the old, if you remember the old Vulcan that the Army had that was on a M113. You know, they're like, yeah, we got a little radar and a gun sight to try and track this thing, but we got to spit 1,000 rounds a minute if we want to have a prayer of hitting anything coming in that fast.
Yeah.
And that's one reason that Sergeant York failed. It used a pair of a single barrel 40 millimeters.
Yeah.
And it had a whole bunch of problems. They're like, dude, it's a 40 millimeter. It doesn't matter if you don't hit the target. It just didn't shoot fast enough.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like that, was it the M42 Duster?
the Duster, yeah, the M42. I actually know somebody that crewed those things. I've been on several of them. That never shot even at a single airplane, but boy, the infantry friggin' loved it. It was the greatest little bush beater. Yeah. They use those things in Vietnam for ground support. Them and the Ontos, they're like, these silly little weapon systems, it's like, it's not made for this. I don't care what it's made for. The 88 wasn't an anti-tank gun, it was an anti-aircraft gun. But you know what? They blow up tanks real good, too.
Yeah.
The Duster was just portable badassery.
Yeah. Well, it's like the quad 50s on the back of the half track.
Oh my God, we still love quad 50s. I'm like, why did you take them away?
Yeah, I mean those things, they weren't shooting at very many, ME 109s and BF 110. Yeah, they were lighting everything else up.
Well, do you remember Band of Brothers? I think it's the last one when they get the quad 50 to cover their little trip across the river.
Oh,
and they're towing it away the next day. He goes, do we have to give that thing up? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. They played with something like that. They took basically, I think it was a Chaffee, and put a 6-gun machine gun turret on it as an anti-aircraft. And I'm like, screw that. That's anti-infantry, man. I want one of those in every company. Well, getting on to ships now. I would say the Arizona.
Was that the only Pearl Harbor set? Was that
No, it was just the Airfix one and the we had the Airfix one and we had the MPC one. There was one other, but it was just a Kate and an Arizona, and I forgot to get a picture of it.
I was gonna say I thought Revell did one.
Let me double check. I very possibly overlooked it.
Like it was with the Arizona and.
That's the one. I think that may be.
Is that the one you're talking?
I think it is. I actually had the picture in the montage slide, and somehow I probably here it is. Pearl Harbor attack set. Hang on, let me grab that picture real quick. Copy image. Let's see. They actually got it boxed a couple of different ways. It's the same model. It's the 1:429. Let me just edit, paste, crop. Okay, file, save as JPEG. Save. Now let me go here and go plus image. Sorry guys. Okay. Browse. This PC. D drive. Help. This is our 219th live stream. I can't believe that. Okay, here we go. Here it is. This is the one you're talking about. You'll see it in a few seconds. And it's got the green Kate flying by the Arizona, flying over the Arizona. Japanese
Yeah.
Kate take bomber and battleship USS Arizona.
So who made that?
That's Revell.
Well, I know they made the ship, but who made the Kate?
Let me see. Okay.
I don't recall Revell ever making a Kate on their own.
Well, back then maybe not. Let's see. No, Revell Japan made a 1-144 Kate. Nope, Pearl Harbor. No, that's attack 172 Kate. Okay. Oh, they also here it is. They also made the exact same thing with a 0. So apparently, I think that one's that may actually be older. Let's see. That's 2002, and the one with the Kate is no. They're both 2002. What, they put out 2 sets?
Well, the 0, yeah, that
one comes with a Kate and a 0.
Because they would have had a 72nd 0. They could have also used a 48 scale 0 when they got the monogram stuff. But I don't remember them ever making a Kate. So
I'm not seeing one. Well, I'm sure they had NPC or Airfix or somebody probably make it for them. But let's see. I got the Revell Japan 1-144 Kate. And nope. I'm in Scalemates. I got Revell Kate, and it's only bringing up these. I am not seeing a Revell Kate at all.
Yes, I don't know who made that Kate for them.
Well, I contracted anybody, Monogram or anyone, or anybody who made. I don't know if Monogram made one, but let's see here. Let me just image. Okay, here is the one that has both of them. So, interesting.
It looks like Jan was thinking it might be the Hasagawa.
Oh, that's right, because Revell had a lot of work relationship with Hasagawa. That would make sense. Let's see. Let's just look real quick here.
Does it say what scale the
172.
172?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On that set, you get the 0 and the Kate.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing. Okay, Hasagawa is not advertising the set, but it may have very well been a Hasagawa kit. That would make sense because I think Revell Hasagawa, that was a thing.
It looks like you get paints with that. Those look like Humbrol tins.
Let's see. Yep. Here's a lot of Revell Hasagawa crossover stuff. The A-37 Dragonfly, the B-29, the B-17G, the Apollo Columbia Eagle, F-102, Catalina, 106, Helldiver, Mirage, the Sky Raiders. They've got a lot of crossover stuff here. And I didn't realize they also did the Devastator for Hasagawa.
Yeah,
11.
But as I've been doing the history of some of my kits and stuff, I was surprised at how many monogram kits ended up being boxed by Hasagawa. Like that TBD. Okay, I get that one because that's a really nice kit. But there's version of the Dauntless. The '60s Dauntless was boxed by Hasagawa at one point. Like, can you imagine you're buying that thing, before Scalemates, and you're going home and it had this awesome Hasagawa box art. You get it home and it's the
yeah, that would be a deflating experience, I should think.
Yeah, I'd be like, man, I just totally got ripped.
You just can't trust anybody anymore. Okay, not on the starboard side in these two picks. The number 2 Wildcat is this is about the stripes you were talking about. I just got an email from John. The number 2 Wildcat is the box art subject 65F4F Wildcat over Wake Island. All right. Okay. Yeah, there's no stripes on the right side. Yep, starboard side does not have the Shianos. I believe you have been vindicated. Well, not. Oh, here's Ken. Hey, he's finally here.
I'm not vindicated. I'm dauntless.
You're dauntless.
I don't want to be vindicated.
Let's see.
I ain't crashing on the back of no cruiser.
Yeah, that's how Henderson got his Medal of Honor. Okay. Hey, Ken, you there?
I'm here. How about you?
I am here. Let me get you.
Howdy, Ken.
Hey.
Okay, I'm not getting the little thing where I can pin you. I'm supposed to have 3 little. Oh, that's because I'm not in Zoom. I'm in OBS. There's a lot going on here, guys. My computer screen looks like spilt spaghetti. There he is. Well, Ken, you're just in time. We're starting to talk about boats. You remember Eric? Steve may not get here tonight. He's at a function. Let's see. Carrier. Okay. Enterprise. It was the third of the York, or it was the second of the Yorktown classes. Now, what's great about the Yorktown class models is they're all identical.
I don't think we're on the stream.
What?
We're not on the stream.
Oh, no, I put a picture up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You see, if here.
Those intro pictures.
Let me. Yes, here. Okay. Oops. Okay. There we are. You'll see it in a second. I'm just flashing it. I'm flashing everybody real quick. But.
Byron Tate says, Max, Kenna has a boat. He's an expert on Pearl Harbor. Please bring him in.
Well, the thing is that all 6 Japanese carriers are different. No 2 Japanese carriers are the same, for that matter. We ran our carriers in series. And if I'm not mistaken, the Yorktown class, which is the Yorktown Enterprise and Hornet, the Yorktown class, I believe, are the first keel-up designed aircraft carriers to be made as a fleet of ships, reproduced. They made improvements to the Yorktown class, which became the Essex class, which they built, 18 of or something of during the war. So the nice thing is, and this is that gigantic 1 to 200 scale. In fact, I think Frankie Day's working on these 1 to 200 scale. These things are monsters, like 30-something inches long.
Were all the small carriers converted battleships or other ships?
Yes, a lot of them were. The Kaga, which is actually the biggest one the Japanese had, if I'm not mistaken, was a converted battleship. A lot of them were converted cruisers.
Yeah, the Saratoga and the Lexington were cruisers.
Were those the small carriers?
No, they were fleet carriers. They were not as big and didn't have as big an air wing as the Yorktown class, but they weren't designed as carriers. The Yorktown was designed from a clean sheet of paper as a dedicated aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
The Langley had been a Kohler.
They were in the process of being built, and then one of the treaties said we couldn't have that many cruisers or battle cruisers or something. So they said, let's turn this into a carrier.
I think it had a 54 plane complement, whereas the Yorktowns had like 68 or 70 or something.
It was much higher than that.
Oh, was it higher than that? No, I'm talking about the Lexington and the.
Yeah, Lexington and Saratoga still had a pretty good complement.
Well, I may be thinking when they had biplanes, because a lot of the biplanes did not have folding wings.
Yeah.
I imagine it got bigger once they got more modern aircraft. But I don't think during the war, I don't think the complements got much above 90-something aircraft. And
according to Bill Paul, he says he thinks the Ranger was the first U.S. carrier designated from the keel up.
that could be, but the Ranger was small and limited.
Yeah, the Ranger was using up tonnage from the naval agreement because you could only make so many tons of this, so many tons of that.
And they had some tonnage left over, and that and then I decided let's make
And so that's how the Ranger ended up being that size. I think same thing with the Wasp.
Yeah, the Wasp was another small one.
The Wasp was also undersized. So the Ranger was just kind of a one-off, but it was built from the keel up. But the Japanese, when you're talking about the Japanese, they actually, the Shokaku and the Zuikaku, those are sister ships.
Yes, that was the first time they made them in series.
Yeah, the rest of them were just kind of one-offs.
The Hiryu and the Soryu were cousin ships, except the Hiryu, they moved the island to the other side, which they came to regret.
Yeah.
But Akagi, Kagi had been a cruiser. Kagi had been a battleship. And if you look at the early pictures of Kagi, it had like 3 decks that were staggered. Weird arrangement. But one of the things, if you look at this picture of the aircraft carrier, the American aircraft carrier, one of the big things that made a huge difference, and the nice thing I say about making a Yorktown class is you can make it any of the 3 ships because they were identical. And the same goes with the Lexington, you just got to change the number on it. However, the Saratoga and the Lexington were very different, so they were unique. But the nice thing is that we had 3 elevators, fore, aft, and midships, that were the same size, and they could fit any airplane. And when you went down one level, you were on the hangar deck, and it was one big, wide open bay with the open sides, which was really turned out to be more important than a lot of people realized.
Yep.
Because ventilation, you could chuck stuff over the side. You did have doors you could close for foul weather, which you had to. But this meant that you could land any airplane or move any airplane and get it down any elevator and spot and all this other stuff. The Japanese did not do it this way. The Japanese carriers were very, aside from each one of them being different, which meant if you were a pilot and you had to go land on a carrier you weren't used to, you might be in for a little bit of a jolt because this doesn't work the ways. You'll notice the Japanese carriers sit taller in the water because they had 2-floor bi-level hangars. So the elevator had to cycle between 2 different floors as well as the top. But they also, as you'll notice, there's no open sides. These things are very poorly vented. So you're in there with all that nice toxic gas.
Yeah.
But also, when you get into firefighting, that could be a real problem. You were caught in the oven. But the other thing that was a problem was they had 3 separate hangar bays that were not connected. You could not push an airplane bow to stern below the deck. You had to get it up on deck and roll it down the deck. Also, each one was dedicated with a different size elevator because it was dedicated to a different type of aircraft. I think most of them, the fighter planes were in the forward one, the bombers were in the mid one, and the dive bombers were in the rear. You could not put the Kate torpedo plane down the elevator made for a fighter. It wouldn't fit. And all of the special equipment for like arming the guns and doing the maintenance was in the... So you had this nightmare of moving airplanes around the deck to make sure everybody went down the right elevator, whereas an American carrier, you could just drop it down any elevator and shove it over. It was a big open bay. If your tools are over there, just go get them. We were immensely more flexible.
Yeah.
J.M. Michel brought up an interesting point. He said the Japanese had a strange idea about carrier ops, and I want to kind of throw an idea out there. I think the reason they did it that way is because that was more the way they thought. They were more
set piece battle oriented.
Yeah, you do this job over here, and
yes,
you're trained to do this job over here, and you're not going to cross over. So their thinking was, we don't need an elevator to do everything. We just need an elevator for these people to get their job done.
Some people refer to that as silo thinking.
Yeah.
Everybody in their silo.
Yeah.
And
does that sound about right, Eric?
Yeah, and the other thing is that they weren't cross trained. The crew weren't cross trained to do a lot of stuff. So like
right.
U.S. Navy, like everybody,
Is a firefighter.
was a firefighter. So when the U.S. carriers or ships got hit, everyone was fighting the fire. Everyone was doing
From the cook to the medic. Everyone could do everyone did damage control.
Yeah, the Japanese had, here's the damage control guys, and in a couple of cases, that was the room that got hit. And
yeah, that happened a couple of times.
They wiped out their damage control crew, and everyone else is just going, "Hey, do you know how to turn on the hose?"
Yeah, that's pretty much about the sum total of it. One of the big problems that they had also in regard to that was they said that one of the worst things that happened at Midway, they actually didn't lose that many pilots. Jonathan Parshall was saying that it was really the Solomons campaign that gutted their pilot staff. What they lost was over 700 fitters, mechanics, armorers. Yeah. You have to remember, Japan was not the United States. These guys did not grow up wrenching on the car and hunting squirrels, okay? An armorer had to be trained. I mean, I know guys that as recently as the 1990s, they were trying to set up aircraft manufacturing for a little airplane in Malaysia. And he said, you got to understand, these are wonderful, hardworking people, but their training starts off with, this is a screwdriver.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, they were a little staggered by exactly the level of expertise that was not there to begin with. There was no, so the Japanese said that replacing the mechanics was harder than replacing the pilots because they didn't actually lose that many pilots at Midway.
Yeah.
They lost all the airplanes because they had to ditch.
Well, it's interesting, how different you got the U.S. Navy and the Japanese Navy, both trying to achieve the same goal. Japanese were really good at putting together a strike package and attack. Right? They could launch a strike in 15 minutes that would take us 45 minutes.
I think they got the entire Pearl Harbor first wave airborne in 9 minutes.
Right? They could do that, but they couldn't put out the fires inside their thing because they were the Japanese thinking, and the way that they were looking, at war is, well, we're not going to lose. We don't need to know how to fight the fires because we're not going to get hit. We're going to sink their ships before we ever are going to get hit. And so they didn't put a lot of emphasis on the defensive things like that. So they were all about get out there quick, attack first, be the first one to attack. And we were working on all kinds of other stuff. So it took us a while to get our air doctrine down to where it became effective. Really, not until 43. Midway was piecemeal. And that's kind of the reason why we won, because it was piecemeal.
That was just a happy accident. We got lucky.
Accident, but then you get down to the Solomons, be like Santa Cruz and Eastern Solomons. We're lucky, that we didn't lose Enterprise.
Yeah, and we did lose Hornet.
And we lost Hornet. We lost Wasp.
The reason the Zero has no armor plate was because they wanted fast, nimble, and they wanted an airplane, but the airplane was designed strictly with the attack mentality. What is that great YouTube channel? Not a Pound for Air to Ground. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I love those guys' videos. Well, anyway,
but you know what, Max? Though, to be fair, when the Zero was first designed, nobody had armor, nobody had self-sealing tanks.
That's true.
Had any of that stuff. We started putting that in. But the British, the Spitfires, the Hurricanes, when they started World War II, they had no armor. They had no self-sealing tanks. Nobody did.
Do you remember a series called A Piece of Cake about the American? I love it when the American that's flying for the RAF goes up and says he has this little steel plate. He goes, "I want you to mount this behind my seat. Probably won't do any good, but it'll make me feel better." Messerschmitts, you were sitting on the gas tank.
Yeah.
And the Spitfire, the gas tank was in front of you. Same for the Hurricane. I'm not sure which is worse.
Well, nobody that added weight. Self-sealing fuel tanks really weren't all effective for a while anyway. But that, not only did they add weight, the self-sealing tanks also cut down how much fuel you could have in the tank itself.
Yep. In
So-
fairness, though, in fairness, the parachute only came out, the last year of World War One, and only the Germans had it. I've heard the British scoffed them, and I've also heard that they didn't even have them, so I don't know which is accurate. But the point I'm driving at is that we're only 20 years from World War One. Obviously, no World War One aircraft had any armor. Most of them didn't even have parachutes, and they were covered in nitric dope. They were basically covered in rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So if you caught fire, it was just so being only 20 years separated from that, the whole idea of armoring an airplane was probably still a pretty foreign concept.
Yeah.
But the Zero dominated for a year because of that. Highly trained pilots.
Yeah.
What, Ken? What?
Stuart Gregory says, Max is playing with his Zero. Come on, Max, make some airplane noises.
I'm sorry, it's Zero. How do you make the sound of someone burning?
Pick into Shycock in one easy lesson.
Yeah, I love that. The three greatest flying movies: Battle of Britain, Tora Tora Tora, and Memphis Belle. But the guy who did Memphis Belle, oh yeah, and another one you may not have heard of, Piece of Cake. Of course, they reused a lot of Battle of Britain footage. The guy who made the director of, I remember seeing an interview when Memphis Belle came out. He goes, making this movie is rather like, he's a British guy. He goes, rather like playing with a very large Airfix kit. And in the UK, a lot of people refer to kit models as Airfix, the same way we call tissues Kleenex.
Yeah.
And you got to give them credit. The Airfix is still around making good stuff. But let's see. We got a couple more. Actually, we're running out of slides here. The next thing was decals.
Like, hey, boy.
This is
Oh, God. Hirachi.
this is something I never heard of.
What's that?
Byron Tate said a lot of Japanese development efforts got delayed because earthquakes devastated the factories.
I can believe that.
Yeah, it did happen.
Ken, calling them earthquakes, they were just trying to masquerade for Godzilla.
Godzilla helped us win World War II by knocking out, the toy factory.
I actually came up with an idea because Godzilla has been in World War II movies, right?
Yeah.
So I came up with an idea about what if just because Godzilla -1 did so well, now they're working on Godzilla -0, the sequel, which I think is supposed to be taking place in '54, the year of the original. And I was just thinking, you could have a lot of fun making a movie where the U.S. is controlling Godzilla to attack Japan during the war. He actually was what happened, in all these places, and it was all a big cover up and a big secret and everything,
You need to put black and white invasion stripes on him and then unleash him on Japan.
Except that I would probably get banned on YouTube. I could just have him put U.S. markings on a steel pot, the invasion strike, what really happened to Hiroshima. But I'm pretty sure that would get some hate.
James Chalachek says, okay, so was the Doolittle raid really caused by Godzilla?
No, he would have done much more damage. The firebombing of Tokyo, well, Godzilla is a metaphor for, a lot of people say he's a metaphor for the atomic bomb, and he is. But other people say he's really also a metaphor for the American military in general. Think about it. It's a great big green-gray creature that came in from the sea and destroyed their city and covered in radiation. I mean, that's us. And I don't think they knew it when they made this movie, but it turned out to be very cathartic for the Japanese. And I think that's why he stayed so popular over there. To us, he was just a big monster, but then he has a much deeper meaning. And,
Okay, Brian Knapp says, if I remember correctly, I hope I say this right, the Amagi aircraft carrier was destroyed during the Great Kanto earthquake.
They did have, I forget the name of it. That's the one that's laying sideways in the harbor, right? That post-war footage. I don't even think it ever launched an airplane. Was it Taiho the one that was sunk before it could launch a single airplane?
Yeah.
Archerfish.
Yeah, it was on its shakedown. You know, it was like the first time it was going out to sea, and it hadn't even got its aircraft on board. If there was even any aircraft left to put on it.
Yeah.
it got torpedoed, you know, by a sub. Yeah, I think they put like 4 fish into it.
Oh yeah, they plowed the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And the crew was new, so they didn't know how to fight the fires or plug the holes or anything else. I want to say it was the USS Archer or Archerfish or something like that sank it. But
stuck. 4 years building this thing, all the setbacks.
10 minutes to sink it.
Finally getting out to sea. Yeah, man, we're going to go attack the Americans. And then you get torpedoed right off your coast.
Hey, we're right here. Boom.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Japanese, well, people say the mistake, like they made one mistake. Everybody made plenty of mistakes. But from a strategic point of view, the Japanese never really stood a chance because they had to ship everything into Japan, which meant they had the Achilles heel of a merchant fleet that could be wiped out at will. Now, we had the same problem with the U-boats, but we had the resources to build enough, you know, to eventually close the gap in the mid-ocean. But so we took as many hits as we got, but they couldn't build ships as fast as we could.
Well, that's an aspect of World War II in the Pacific that a lot of people don't fully appreciate, is how effective the U.S. submarine force was at putting a total stranglehold on Japan's shipping for, you know, raw materials, for, you know, resupply, all that stuff. Because, like you said, it's an island nation that really had no raw materials. Everything was being imported, and then they were fighting out on islands and other places that had to go by ship. And you know, you get into, you know, late 43, 44, 45. And
now the torpedoes are working, and we've got good radar on the subs.
We're cranking out subs. You know, we have, you know, 30, 40 subs out there at any given time. And they were just torpedoing the hell out of the Japanese merchant fleet.
So they brought them to, in fact, I don't know if this number is correct, but I've been told that the submarine fleet made up 2% of the combat fleet, but sank like 48% or 80% of the tonnage or so. It was because merchant ship tonnages. And the Japanese had their philosophy backwards. The Japanese always wanted to sink warships. And I understand that. But guys, the merchant ships are more vulnerable and every bit as important. And they can't fight back. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I understand the idea of sinking a warship, okay, but if you can immobilize a warship if you can stop the oil from getting to it and the spare parts and everything else.
Well, that was also, you know, like when they started doing kamikaze attacks off of like Okinawa and Iwo Jima and stuff, like, you know, they're going after, you know, a destroyer when they should have been going after a troop transport.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know, but, you know, not that sinking one of those troop transports would have really made any much of a difference anyway.
But you start sinking enough of them.
You hit a few of those troop transports, and there goes a whole Marine division.
And the other thing is that, MacArthur is a controversial general, but I think he was absolutely right with the island hopping campaign. There's no reason to take these. We can just cut them off and let them die on the vine.
Yeah.
You know, that island hopping campaign was very well thought out. And the other thing was that we were looking, I mean, the whole reason for the famous Spruce Goose, the Hercules, was we were losing so many Liberty ships that were looking for an alternative. Eventually we closed the Atlantic Gap and didn't need it. But Britain almost suffered the same fate that Japan did suffer. And if it's commonly believed that had Dönitz gotten his big submarine fleet at the beginning of the war, it would have been a very different. It could have been a different outcome. I wouldn't say it would have been.
Yeah.
But let's look at it this way: we might have had to start the war in Iceland or Greenland.
Yeah.
But
you know, the day they attacked Pearl Harbor was the day the Japanese lost the war.
Yep. The day the Germans went into Russia.
Yeah, it was predetermined at that point. There was really absolutely nothing that the Japanese could do to win that war.
Pearl Harbor and Operation Barbarossa are what happened when you believe your own press releases. And you believe your own propaganda. And the sad part, well, there's so many sad parts of it, but one of the saddest parts is just the waste of human capital, as well as the blood and treasure. Yeah, I've heard estimates that if we hadn't fought the world wars, I've heard different numbers of how much bigger our population would be, our economies would be, and all that other stuff. And other people are like, well, it's a natural weaning process. I don't know. I build model airplanes, but for all the advantages, like I've got my model of the Arizona over here. That's the border models, and pretty good kit. But for all the battleships we built and everything else, people talk about, oh, this airplane had that edge. There are so many more factors that get involved, like we were just talking about. You got to get all of this. We could have never put a single bomber over Japan and still brought them to their knees with a big enough fleet of submarines. Yeah. I'm not saying we didn't need a bomb. I know a bomber pilot who, he's passed now, but he flew B-17s, and later he flew Mustangs, and he always felt, he goes, we didn't do any good over Europe. I'll have our bombs landed in open fields. I said, see, you're seeing bombs landing off target. Every B-17, every formation that went over Germany meant resources they had to pour into defending Germany that they couldn't use attacking the Russians, attacking us. Every factory put one bomb in. Oh, they would rebuild it the next day. Then that's one day they didn't make bullets or tank wheels or whatever else. It's strategic for a reason. Every railroad you knocked out. I understand you see one bomb in 100 hitting the target, and you see 3 planes go down. You're like, God, but you probably saved 300 guys on the ground who didn't have to face whatever they were making.
Well, and the fact that they had to continue to increase how many planes they were pulling back from the Russian front, from the Italian front, in order to defend Germany. That was costing them on those fronts, because those are planes that aren't supporting the Russian campaign or the Italian campaign. And that ended up, even though the bomber campaign itself, it's always questionable, how effective really was it. You knock out a target, but you had to be back working in a week or whatever. But what it did result in, it was the destruction of the Luftwaffe in the West, so that by the time D-Day comes, there ain't no German planes flying over beaches.
That's true. 2 Focke-Wulf 190s each made a pass and ran away.
Yeah, because so that ended up being this attrition that just ground down the Luftwaffe in the West, and that had a huge strategic value, because if they could have gone along and sunk a bunch of ships that were on land and all that, if they had an air cover, with if Rommel's Panzer's been able to push the guys back into the ocean, if they had air cover, we had complete air supremacy. Over the battlefield, most of Western Europe, we had air supremacy. So, then that was all because of the bombing campaign.
And nothing happens in a vacuum. So when these guys, I understand their point of view. They're not seeing a lot of their bombs to the target, so they think we're not doing a good job. Like, you don't understand, it's much bigger than all that.
Yeah. You're dropping 1,000 bombs to get 50 on target. And
but you're drawing 5 squadrons of fighters away from the front, mechanics, fuel, precious fuel, and then you're helping open the door for the Russians, for those godless commie hordes that are heading their way.
Well, you can say the same thing for the B-29 campaign against Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But they're firebombing Tokyo, they're firebombing Nagoya. How strategic was that? How many factories were they really taking out? How many airplanes were not being built? Well, how many pilots did they even have to fly those planes? Did it really matter?
Well, they blew up Mr. Tamiya's first factory.
So how much of that those B-29 bombing campaigns really actually contributed towards succeeding? You know, if they don't have raw materials that were being cut off by the submarines, you can't fly the damn planes.
Yeah, that's why I figure, but also the U.S. is getting war weary. Everything helped accelerate the end, but ironically, just to play what if alternative history. Let's say we decide to go. We're not gonna bomb them, so the factories are still churning out what they can. Hey, let's send a couple of bombers over with nukes. Well, now they've got full squadrons they can attack them with. So, of course, probably could have delivered. Some people talked about maybe we should deliver the atom bomb with a submarine.
Yeah.
And, put it in a harbor or something, like go boom and let them watch. Now, you sure you don't want to surrender? But
well, the Japanese had a hard time, attacking B-29s because they were flying so high.
Mm-hmm. They had to build a Raiden just to do it.
Well, even the Raiden struggled at dealing with it. They really didn't have anything effective because, the one thing the Japanese, didn't do very well at was engines.
No.
Their engines, their superchargers, all that stuff, they did not, really move forward with that stuff.
Well, they there was a technology deficit, and it's not that they don't have good engineers. It was more money and resources.
It's what they were focused on.
Yeah.
They were focused on something else. Their whole pilot training programs. You look at, at the beginning of the war, they had probably the best pilots in the world in the Japanese Navy.
They did. They're arguably the finest in the world.
Finest, group of aviators in the world were probably them. But they went through 2-3 years of training before they went out to the fleet. Well, they had no plans of changing that at all.
And they had an artificially high failure rate in flying school.
Yeah.
They washed guys out for the minorest of things. Their attitude being only the elite get through, and they were so doctrinaire. Who was the fighter pilot shot down like 6 or 7 valves in one engagement? He said that it was a Swede, and he said that he goes, I'd shoot one down, they would just close the formation. He was under them where they couldn't shoot back. He goes, this is just murder, and
but imagine if they had a training program that was effective, like us. We rotated our pilots out. They went back and trained the next group.
They didn't know that they were talking about the B-29s going to switch lower altitude, that the anti-aircraft fire was all but useless against the B-29s because they didn't realize they dropped to a lower altitude for more effective bombing, so all the AA stuff was blowing up way above them.
Yeah.
They lost a B. They caused, those firestorms caused so much turbulence. They lost a B-29 to turbulence flying over one of the firebombed cities. It just broke up.
I think more B-29s were lost to like accidents, jet stream, stuff than ever were lost to Japanese aircraft.
Absolutely, I'm almost positive. My dad was a B-29 mechanic, WB-29 mechanic in the Korean War, before and during the Korean War, up in Alaska, and he said they were in effectively peacetime conditions. They were always come in with one feathered.
Yeah,
And by then the airplane was a matured platform.
Yeah, the B-29, especially 43, 44.
Oh God, they had so many production problems and quality control issues. Yeah. It was more complex than the Manhattan Project that made the bomb, and just about as expensive.
Yeah.
And they never really got the B-29 or the B-50. The kinks worked out of it, but they were pushing 1940s and 50s metallurgy so hard.
Yeah.
I love the Connies and the DC-7s, but they were asking a lot out of steel that was made, in probably a coal-fired smelter.
Oh. But the Russians got it right when they, did the TU-4, their copy of it. They kept building, into the 50s. And the Chinese were using it.
Yeah, I think the Chinese put turboprops on it. Yeah, it was a solid, aerodynamic design. Yeah. That wasn't its problem. It was always the power plants.
The tail turret from the B-29 was used all the way through, like the Bear and the Bison. Yeah, they were still using the tail turret from
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's We just hit 9 p.m. I'm having a grand old time. But what, Ken? What you got?
JM Chalchek says, did your dad work on the Keybird Max, the 29 that ditched in Greenland?
No, he was in Alaska. And he got out. He was actually held in past his enlistment because, the Korean War broke out while he was in. So,
Max was part of the crew that went to go get the Keybird out.
Oh, God, that is such a heartbreaking thing. Daryl Greenemeyer, I tell you what, the guy accomplished so much, but when that... And I remember watching the documentary, and they're all sitting there watching the plane burn. And, of course, they're all obviously brokenhearted, but they're trying to be men about it. And he said there, he just goes, I hope my tools weren't in there.
Oh, yeah, that video when they're just watching it.
And that's what can you do,
Yeah, and they're just sitting there just watching it. That was heartbreaking.
JM says Keybird launched from Alaska.
Yeah, I didn't know that. What was it doing in Greenland?
Wasn't it being ferried over to Europe, or was it coming back?
I suppose. Yeah.
Oh,
you think about the Greenland expedition, the B-17s, the fighters, and Keybird, you realize going across the ocean in those days, it was not a guaranteed proposition as we think of it today. In fact, they just had a Delta jet had to divert into somewhere in the UK, Ireland, or Scotland on its way to Europe. And I didn't read the article what happened, but
Sam says it got lost and ended up over Greenland.
There was no GPS back then, man.
What I think is neat is every once in a while they'll still fly, like a B-17 over to Europe or a Lancaster come visit, and they're doing that route, and it's like that's pretty, amazing that they're still flying over the ocean like that.
It is, and I have mixed feelings about that. I love that they do it, and I'm terrified that they do it because those things. I mean, we lost the one up in Connecticut a few years ago, and I hate to say this. I don't like to speak ill of the dead or another pilot, but I mean, the plane did have a mechanical problem, but he passed up one runway to try and, the golf club back to go all the way around. And, it's just like, there's a runway, take it. Those are not overpowered airplanes. And,
no, that's always the, the perpetual dilemma, with any of the old airplanes is, it's fantastic to see these things fly and do what they were meant to do, and the education from it, getting people interested in it, and just the sheer joy of hearing a Packard Merlin flying across the sky. It's just phenomenal. Versus that might crash and not only kill people, but take one of the last B-17s left or something.
I have a solution for that I think will make everybody happy. We're going to take every vintage World War II warbird, PT-17, P-51, T-6, B-17, Lank. We're going to put them all in nice air-conditioned, climate-controlled museums, and then we're going to open up the production line and build new ones with modern materials.
3D print yourself a B-17.
3D print. I want a Lancaster. It's faster, and it's a cooler looking airplane. Yes, I say we open the production lines back up. Boeing needs the work.
You get a big enough printer and enough of them, yeah, you can do it.
Well, they 3D print aluminum, baby. We're in business.
Oh yeah, they 3D print rockets.
Aircraft grade. Oh, really? Well, okay. Then now we're cooking with gas.
Well, they've been doing that with some fighter stuff. I mean, when they.
Well, there is one full-size Spitfire that was built from scratch.
They're building them from. They built some 262s. They built some.
They built 3 262s, 2 FW190s. I think 2 of them.
Oh no, a dozen of those.
But oh, they have that. Okay, I want one.
Yeah, they did. They did a bunch of the because once you're doing one, you might as well do 3 or 4.
Oh sure.
So that's what they're doing. Like when they got they got some Hayabusa, K-43s out of, I don't know, Bougainville or something like that. And so they brought it back. It's not enough to restore. So they used it as a pattern for some of the stuff and said, well, as long as we're making this one, we might as well make, so they ended up making half a dozen, Hayabusas. Same thing with the FW. made a bunch of those 262s. You know, the FWs, they're putting Russian engines, those SM-82 engines in them.
Yeah, there's
Which
another.
is funny. SM-82 is basically a copy of the BMW 801.
But the Spitfire I'm thinking of, this was done by an individual, not a company. He did it over a period of years, and he literally just built a Spitfire from scratch. Now he made a lot of low cost modern material changes, but you look at it, parked there, it looks like a Spit, and he takes it to air shows, and it's got a Packard Merlin or a Merlin in it. But you know, when you see how much those little 2/3 scale Mustangs cost, you know, $750,000 or whatever, I'm like, oh, heck, just get a real one. I would love to. For me, I think the airplane I would prefer to be a Mosquito, but I'd love a Stuka just because they're so ugly, they're beautiful. You know.
You had one.
Huh?
You had one. Didn't you lose it?
It went in a tree, but I got it back. No, I mean a real one.
I know.
I
know.
What we do is we put an electric motor in it with a hybrid, but we just put speakers on it with a sound card, so it sounds like a real Stuka. You know, people put sound cards in RCs, so they make that throaty radial sound as they go by. Well, guys, we're past 9 o'clock, having a grand time. So
There's still 103 people watching.
Oh no! I was just going to say, I think we are officially now in the after show.
Remember when 8 o'clock used to be the after show?
After shows whenever we decide it's the after show. Okay, there it is. That's what I was looking for. Hold on, let me just put this all the way up to the top. There we go. Time for the after show. Now I have a time for the. So now anybody that tunes in knows that we're in the after show. So that means we can talk about anything. So Ken, were you on your boat?
No, I was not. Although I am making new port light lenses for the boat. That's a whole experience in itself.
Okay, I'll bite. What's the issue with making the new port light lenses?
Oh, where do I begin? Holy cow.
Well, the beginning is the usual place.
I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I had to buy a router and a router table. I had to get a whole...
Hold on. Just so we're clear, a router as in the big machine, not a router for your computer.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'm with you.
Such that, you know, hence the router table.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I got one of those. I took one of the port light lenses out of the boat, frame and everything, popped right out. I thought, okay, might as well just take this thing home. So I did that.
Hold on. Slugo wants to talk MK Ultra. Personally, I prefer Mick Ultra.
What's an MK Ultra?
Eric, you want to tell him?
MK Ultra?
Isn't that when the CIA was experimenting on people without their knowing about it, like with acid and everything? I mean, like LSD.
I thought that was one of the British Secret Service or spy network things.
No, that was like with the Enigma device and that stuff. There was a computer, I think, that was called Ultra. Or crap, I'm getting my espionage all mixed up and CIA stuff all mixed up.
Anyway, back to the interesting stuff.
But yeah, it was the acid test. Here, kid, smoke this. Let's see what he remembers. So you were making port light lenses.
Yeah. I took the original one. Unfortunately, in the process of getting one of the hinges off, it broke a big chunk of it off. So I'm having to flip it over to get to the other side and match it all up. And I let my friend Ricky make. Well, I told him to stop, but he just kept on doing it anyway. And he made 5 of them that aren't quite right. And so I've decided.
I'm trying so hard not to make a snarky comment.
I'm gonna take over production, and today I was out there making a.
What are they made of?
Plexiglass.
Okay.
It's
You're shaping them with the router.
yeah, it's 8
Guys,
millimeters.
I think our voice is coming through, but it looks like the picture just locked up.
Oh yeah.
Well, hold on.
Yep.
I've got the cure for that.
No,
Okay, now we can talk all we want.
This is the MK Ultra test.
It's kicking in.
So the voices are still going through.
Can you guys still hear us? Okay.
Yeah, they can still hear the voices inside their heads.
Then hey, the MK Ultra is working.
Oh, the picture just changed.
Oh, did it? Oh, well, I put up a still card. It's not like they need to see our faces to know when we're talking. Lousy dubbing.
Okay, back to the fun stuff. All right, so
Yeah.
I got 2 sheets of 8 millimeter plexiglass that's about 4 feet by 3 feet, something like that. And okay, we can't hear. They can't hear us. Okay, I got that. That's been all cut up, so I still have a spare sheet that I can use to make the rest of them with. But so I practiced on a piece of plywood to see how close I could get it to the original. And I purposely left a little bit around the edge so that I'd have something to shave off when I stuck the lens back on top of it. Because what I did before is I just outlined it and just routed it down to the outline. Now I'm going to put it back on there. And it's got a little ball bearing on it so it doesn't tear up the original one. And it just cuts the one that's next to it to the exact same size as the ball bearing. Anyway, after I get that done, then I get to glue them back in and remount the frame back onto the boat.
Is this colored plastic?
I tried to get tinted, which is what's originally was on the boat, but I couldn't find any. So I said, oh, heck with it. I'll just get clear.
So how are you going to do the color? Like with a color bulb now?
What?
How are you going to get the color then if you're going to a clear instead of a colored plexiglass?
Just be clear. It was only slightly tinted before.
Oh, I thought this was navigation lights.
No, these are port lights.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But you know what? I was thinking port side lights. That's why I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. For those who don't know what a port light is, it's the same thing as a porthole, except they're oval and they're about that big. Anyway, I got 6 of them that I've got to make. And there's 2 smaller versions of the same size, so I got to make 2 of those. Otherwise, the boat's going to look really funny. Some you can see out of and some you can't, because it's gotten so crazed that you can barely see through the things. And I saw this video on YouTube of a guy who did exactly what I'm doing, which is why I'm doing it. He took them all out, took the lenses out, and got the router and routed them all out, and put them back in, and it all worked. And I thought, looks easy. What could go wrong?
You had to ask.
I had to ask.
Ken, you know that if you ask what could possibly go wrong, the universe will answer.
Oh yes, and in the worst possible way. I've been around.
Under Max's modeling desk is what will go wrong.
There's probably
you realize, Max, that like on virtually every single model you've built, one of the episodes that throw through your build has one of your parts ending up somewhere else.
Well, that's what I get for building models that have more than 8 parts and smaller than 3 inches. I mean, I got big hands, old eyes, and I'm a little bit of a klutz to begin with. I am a legitimate klutz, and I will give it, and it just happened earlier today. I'll give you an example, okay? I put stuff down, I start work. I am the king of reaching over and not realizing there's a paintbrush sticking out of a glass or something, and when it goes, it will not go in a vacuum. It will chain react like a Rube Goldberg device. Yeah. And it is a God-given gift. My ability to first off, I'm big, so I'm always. You notice I have all of these models inside the edge of the table. I never let anything stick over. And sometimes even that, I'll swing the chair or I'll move my elbow and I will just catapult something across the room. I need a football sized field working area with everything 3 feet apart so I can't knock stuff over.
Max, I thought you had situational awareness.
Having it and using it are two different things.
And he only has that when there's wings attached.
You mean like buffalo wings?
And,
Hi, Steve's here finally.
and he's in them.
That's
Excellent situational awareness when he's actually flying the plane. When he's in his chair working on stuff, not so much.
You made it.
I came to rescue you guys.
Good luck with that.
We're in the after show again.
There you go. That's the fun show.
And
We even got Eric to stay up late.
yeah, well, it's early for him.
Yeah, early.
It's early for him.
And Max even let me talk about the boat.
Well, I put up a
Wow.
screen where he couldn't see that I was, yawning and taking a nap. And
Max,
Did he liken your boat to like the, Arizona or any of the ships that were?
the Arizona, I give you the Arizona.
No,
Oh, really?
no such comparison.
I set up special lighting and everything so you guys. Can you guys actually make out what that is?
Yeah, where's the fish?
I'm probably inside it now. Oh God, I did not just say that.
You said. Yeah, well, you won't have to.
I
worry
am
about
gonna
that.
smoke a turd in hell for that one.
Yeah, you won't be on YouTube by next week.
Ah, jeez. Yeah, we were talking about Pearl Harbor stuff, so I have all of my Japanese model airplanes, the Arizona, and all that stuff. And this is that 21st Century Toys kit, and I know they didn't make a lot of models, but this, and this actually had a couple of screws that went in with plugs that went in over them. This is actually a really good model. I was impressed.
I've got their pre-made built one, on my desk or on the shelf next to my office at work.
Oh, nice.
I've got that one, the big one, which ironically I think is the same airplane, by the way. But it got knocked over and got busted up, so now it's in a bag. If anybody wants a 1/16 scale zero that needs repairs.
Yeah. No, it's that same one there.
Calling Fran.
He does seem to like to fix your disasters.
Boy, he's a busy man.
Max, when we froze and you had the stuff up, people were commenting about like, oh, this is the radio version or the Fireside radio show or something, and it made me think, what we need to do, or you need to do, is you need to have like at the end of these live streams, you need to do the decoder ring.
Drink more Ovaltine.
Right, so that way they stick around to the end of the show, and then you're gonna send out your coded message.
The chair is against the wall. Jean has a long mustache.
Long mustache.
It fills my heart with a monotonous languor.
It's the Max video radio picture.
There you go. It's a radio cryptogram. How about that? A radio cryptogram.
Yeah, decoded out to be like, buy stuff from Hurricane Hobbies. Yeah.
And here's how we can do it. If you have Revell kit number H-212-79, go to the instruction sheet, third line down, fourth word over.
Sluggo says Max is the modeling version of Mr. Bean.
Yeah, try and get him in a mini.
He would.
Wait a minute. You better be talking about a Mini Cooper, not a mini skirt.
Oh.
Take your pick. Pick your poison.
I'll take the car. Get two of them using
Okay.
the roller skates.
Good choice.
Because trust me, I've seen me in a mini skirt, and you don't want to see that.
Yeah, no.
I don't even want to ask why anybody would have seen you in a mini skirt, Max.
It was actually just a T-shirt that wasn't quite long enough, but still, it counts.
Because they want to be blind.
There are just some things you just can never unsee.
Yeah.
Yep, there's a few things You know, no, I'm not going to ask, but we all have something we wish we hadn't seen. We'd like to go back in time and not see it.
So what are all you troopers asking for Christmas?
Ooh.
Don't all answer at once.
Seeing Max in the tutu. Oh, the pain. The pain.
Oh, the pain, the pain. Oh. You know, I would if I had like the Jupiter 2.
Oh, I thought he was going to say, I would put a tutu on if somebody really wanted me to.
Oh, I have no problem with putting
like
I have no problem with putting a tutu on over my pants.
Sluggo says, yeah, Max, trans wouldn't look good on you.
Yeah.
More of a leather jacket kind of guy.
It says, Max in a miniskirt makes me think of a scene from Fantasia.
the hippos? Yeah.
Lance Ravel says,
what do you think gave him the idea to begin with?
Lance Ravel says, need mind bleach.
Mind bleach, yes. Well, just join MK Ultra.
B. Pagan says, definitely off track now. Oh, this happens all the time.
This is the after show. This is a train without a track.
Sluggo wants a Ravel Foose 48 Eldorado for Christmas. John Ashley Smith wants peace on earth, love and understanding, and a machine gun.
Cool.
That comes in handy in case the first one doesn't work.
There you go, baby.
Yeah. J.M. Childick wants a Tamiya 72nd F-14D Tomcat.
Oh, that's doable.
Scale Model Apprentice wants Legos.
I want to.
Garfield says, I want an Iridium 238 explosive space modulator.
There should have been an earth-shattering kaboom!
Where's the Godzilla conversation when we need it?
Well, they're all right here. You know what? I was wondering what was missing the whole time we've been doing this live stream. Something was out of place. And it just dawned on me on what it is. We've been talking about all this Japanese stuff without a Godzilla on the table. Look familiar?
Oh, yeah. We know it well. We were there when that happened.
How could we forget it?
And Steve did. Isn't that what you did, Steve? Aren't you the one
Yes,
who put
it was.
That's what I thought.
I fit that little thunder lizard in that VW.
Thunder Lizard. Oh my God, that's my new call sign.
All he's needing is a steering wheel.
No, that's going to be my porn name. My porn name, Captain Thunder Lizard. And then, Your Honor, is when the YouTube took us offline.
Well, Ken, after that comment, he'll be living with you for a week or two till Monica calms down.
Yeah, we have a good time. So how was your party, Steve?
It was really good. It was nice. It was a lot of the neighbors, and it was a really good time.
Did you take the snowblower out for a run around?
No, I'm waiting for it to snow for that. I have to get gas, as a matter of fact.
I'm going to make this look a little more accurate here.
Here we go. J.M. Childick says, if I had a time machine, I go back in time and convince Sinclair to replace the dinosaur they have with Godzilla for the mascot. There you go. I like that.
Sluggo wants an aviator space modulator.
I want a CRM 114 discriminator.
Yeah.
Well, sure, that's the way it decodes. Attack Plan R.
You want to know something interesting? I was at an air show a few years after that movie came out at the Andrews Air Force air show. And I was talking to one of the crew. I don't know. What the heck was that thing? It wasn't a B-52. I think it was a KC-135 or something like that. And we were talking about the movie, and I said, yeah, the CRM-114. And he says, oh, we got a CRM-117.
It's the updated version.
Really?
By the way, there's one thing I did with this LS kit. since I was just having fun with it. On the bottom of the decal sheet, there was this really cool little Japanese symbol with writing, which is like, I think it's like, this is a LS model, you know, that. But I just thought it looked so cool, I went ahead and put it on the side into the cockpit.
The guy's name. Yeah.
Ooh, how about a flux capacitor for Christmas?
I want an oscillation overthruster.
I just got to notice that UPS just dropped off a package that I believe has models. So give me a second.
Go get it, guys.
my-
We're gonna take a quick intermission because I have to go to the wash my hands. So Ken, you have the show while we're all away for a minute. So say whatever you want.
Whatever I want?
Right there.
Entertain them.
Whatever I want. Well, let's see. how
Are
many
you not
people-
entertained?
Let's see how many people drop out now. Okay. After listening to the Synthetic Man on YouTube, you have nothing to worry about. Okay. Somebody wants peace on earth from Goodwill Men. Goodwill Men? Okay. Yes, one overthruster. What's wrong with the flux capacitor? I mean, you can have all kinds of fun things with that. Right,
Yeah.
Steve?
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Go back. Go back to your senior prom. That was fun.
No, we don't want to do that. That ended badly. A couple other evenings I'd like to go back to, but not that one.
Stand outside the door. Steve, don't do that.
Are you done yet? Are you done yet?
Yeah, you done yet? Captain Ken, there can only be one.
Sluggo wants an Anita Ekberg blow-up doll.
Yes, and JM, whatever. Dr. Strangelove. Yes, that's where that came from. Ken 120, 121, whatever it takes. That's right. I know what that movie's from. That's Mr. Mom.
So Eric Garfield says the package looks like it was sent by Canada Post.
Yeah, which is why it's got a hole in it.
Yeah.
I'm concerned because this has got model kits in it. I can hear parts bouncing around inside.
Uh-oh.
There's a hole ripped open on here, so I'm like,
Take a picture first before you open it.
Yeah.
In case you gotta file a claim.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're not going to do the opening because I'm using my phone for the camera right now.
What's wrong with
Oh,
All right. Well, we'll save the opening for.
oh,
Boo hiss.
All right. I'll log out, take the picture, and log back in. How's that?
okay.
Just turn the phone around.
Do that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do that.
Let's turn the phone around. There you go. That works. Okay.
I'm trying to use the phone.
What goodies are we going to get?
See, that's why.
Well, he'll be
that's
back in
why-
a minute, I'm sure.
That's why he's celebrating vintage model kits, because he's not up to the tech of talking and using the phone for a picture at the same time.
Lance Ravel says, "Where's Monica? We sorely need adults."
Need adult supervision.
Okay, hold on. Let me fix this screen here. Let's see. Go here. Hit Windows.
Oh, I remember seeing a T-shirt one time that says, "It's not my fault. I wasn't properly supervised."
Yeah.
The one I love is everything was fine, but then there was a bonfire and beer.
Lance, she'll need a whip and a chair to handle this crew.
I'm not sure why it stacked the pictures up and down, but okay, whatever. It's not like they need a better look at our faces. Let's see.
Who's that? Byron Tate says, Monica is still making dinner for Max. I hear cake is on the menu.
Actually, no, I had my cake for lunch. I just went and checked in with her real quick. She went, of course, went ahead and ate. So I'll just eat whenever we're done. But I want to make sure everyone waiting on me.
Super PLC says, "Is Monica going to be next week's co-host?"
She's like the producer, stays behind the camera, pulls the strings.
We'll definitely get a more organized show.
Yeah.
And so let me see. I have. Now, by the way, I didn't mention this because it had anything to do with Pearl Harbor. That's my wife, Monica. Monica Bellucci. Well, she looks like her.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the Kate torpedo plane, which, at Pearl, it was actually replaced by the Tenzan, which I have a small pre-made model of here, and which was a hotter airplane. But just throwing that out there real quick.
She's the finance minister.
Yeah, you better.
You could say that.
So, Steve, were there adult beverages at this event?
Oh, absolutely. There were of many fine vintages.
Budweiser. Oh, here he is. Budweiser and Pabst Blue Ribbon.
A lot of wine.
All right, there we go.
Hey, he's back.
And we're back. We're square again.
All right. So, took pictures.
We've been waiting breathlessly to find out what's in this box.
Some good stuff.
Uh-oh.
Hey, kid, I got some good stuff here. First model's free.
All right. You want?
And that's a quick way to dull an X-Acto knife.
Super PZL.
Oh my God! I just realized this is turning into Mystery Science Theater 3000.
3000.
Well,
That's not a bad idea. You know what I could do? I could get some little cutouts of us, so when we do the after show, we'll just put that over a model,
And we'll just make comments.
Yeah, I love it. I have a project for tomorrow.
Super PZL says Monica, she who must be obeyed.
Absolutely.
That's right.
She who must be obeyed.
That's what you don't mess with Monica.
Just think the old song "Bad Bad Leroy Brown."
Yes, drive around.
Drive around a rusty van with old Moffat. You won't get many kids, but you'll attract a lot of 60-year-olds.
A lot of old guys running around.
Hey, pull that thing over. Let me see what you got.
So is Honey the cat working the Max?
Oh, Honey is the master of the house.
All right, so this one.
Ooh.
Wow, that is old.
Yeah, I'm gonna make
Older
you.
than me.
I'm gonna make you big, Eric. I'm gonna make us small so everybody can get a better look. I'm gonna start unpinning us here. So remove pin. Remove pin. Remove. Where it moved? Moved it. Okay, Eric. Now you're big. So True Blue airplane kit. I can't. The name's got something over it, but. What is that, from the 40s?
Yeah, this is, I believe this is actually wartime. And so it's a True Blue laminated solid model kit. And so if you can see that it's built up with laminations instead of carving out solid.
Okay, yeah.
You're building it out of laminated pieces. And on the back, here's the different aircraft that were available.
Oh God, is that's not wheels on that Seamew thing, is it? The Ranger or whatever they called that thing.
What was that? Yeah, no, it's the Seagull, the Curtis SS.
Oh, what a POS that turned out to be.
Yeah, that was total POS.
With as much you knew about airplanes back then, you wonder how they actually intentionally designed something so bad.
What's interesting though is like here, they show a Spitfire here. This is like a late model Spitfire with
got the clipped wings, 4-bladed prop, got the little...
Yeah, it's got it looks like the Griffin engine on it. And then here, this is the prototype of the P-39.
Is that an Air Cobra or King Cobra?
It's
That's an Air Cobra, yeah.
Yeah, it's a prototype.
And that Mustang looks like an H model or something, and they give them by the hump on that engine.
Yeah, so it's an odd mix of.
That is an odd mix.
Yeah, so this is the way these are made with laminated parts. This one is the Typhoon, the Hawker Typhoon, and
The carbon monoxide special.
I'll be. I don't know how well you can see this or not, but you get this.
Yeah, I can see that well enough. Sure. That grain's
Pop
clear.
out the parts and just build it up.
Yeah, a little putty, little sanding, smooth everything out.
Yeah.
Sluggo, it's wood. It's not plastic.
I went and sniffed that whole plate. Yeah.
There's it's not even decals. It's just colored paper that you cut out and just glue it right on. And they give you some sandpaper. And let's see if here's the instruction sheet.
JM says laminated layers. Now we don't need 3D filament printers.
Yeah, so here's the instruction sheet. And it looks like it's copyrighted 44.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep, it's wood. Careful with that. That might rip apart and you just pull on it.
Why does nobody understand that laminated means it's wood?
It's before
been a
their
while.
time.
God. Oh, careful.
That's an old one, Steve. First the dinosaurs came, then they died. Then the Arabs came and bought Mercedes.
Super PCL says, dang, he let the 1940s air smell escape from the box.
All right.
And JMDFCV says Eric's sporting some pretty cool wood.
Oh, God. I was waiting for the first Gotwood joke.
It's there.
It's
Real
right
planes
there
and
underneath
miniature.
it.
That's a
That's
Helldiver
real.
in the
So-
early war markings. A CZ scale, real planes in miniature.
Yeah, so CZ Model Airplane Company, Worth, Illinois. CZ quarter scale model airplane construction kit, easy to build, no painting necessary, realistic and
Hey,
educational.
get over here.
All right, so,
You know, I love my red Helldiver.
and this one's supposed to be a P-47.
I could have swore that's a Helldiver on the cover.
I think this is one of these where like the same cover for several kits, and then they just put the name on the end.
Okay.
This one's supposed to be a P-47 Thunderbolt.
That's still one up on the Russians. They just used a blank cardboard box.
Yeah. And this is made out of cardboard.
Wow.
Cardstock fighter bomber plane. Okay. Well, cardstock
That's like
models
the
are still a
Lionel.
thing.
That's like the Lionel Christmas trains during the war that were made out of paper.
Here's the
Propellers. All right.
propeller. That's all cardstock.
I think Frankie Day was he was just working on a cardstock Vindicator last night on his live stream.
Yes, this is CZ model airplane. So here's the wings.
Mm-hmm.
So everything,
Yeah.
but the fuselage is wood, or is everything cardboard?
Now get this. So here's the. This is just like building a stick and tissue with all the formers and.
But you're using cardstock instead of tissue.
But this is cardstock, and then you're wrapping it with this fairly thin cardboard instead of the tissue that's all pre-printed and pre-colored. Look, you can see it's got like the rivets and everything.
That's kind of cool.
This is really cool.
You gonna put it together?
This might get.
I have seen some cardstock models that people have made, the more modern ones, and I got to admit, they were just about styrene quality appearance when they were done.
Yeah. Here's the instructions. I mean, this is a beautiful just from aesthetics, I mean, that's something to hang on the wall.
I was going to say you could frame that, you know.
That's a beautiful blueprint. And this is, it says quarter scale as well.
Byron Tate says, first red flag, easy to build.
And then there's wood stringers in here.
Because you're going to have something, yeah. Oh, okay, so it comes with cut wheels, all right.
So it's got wheels, got the stringers.
Sluggo wants to know, does it have a wooden pilot?
But does the pilot have wood? First one.
Oh, please.
Oh, man.
I was just getting it shot in before somebody else did. Is that the engine? The cowling?
It's a cast piece.
Well, yeah, because they couldn't cut wood that fine.
No, it's like plaster of Paris.
Oh, that is awesome. It's a true multimedia kit. Wood,
It
paper,
is.
and resin.
You got wood, paper.
And I guess a resin or something, but that
Steady
is
as
cool.
a rock.
Steady as a rock. So it's wood like a rock, huh?
Lance Ravel
Then you got rock, paper, and scissors.
Yeah, rock.
Lance Ravel says it sure beats being given blocks of wood and a Whitland knife.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, some of these, like when you see like a pre-war or wartime hawk kit, it literally was a block of wood.
It was a block of wood with.
It gives you
Cut
a
this
block
out,
of
glue
wood.
it on the side, trim. Now do the same for the top.
Yeah.
Now round it.
Okay, so here's the actual instructions of how to assemble it.
That is actually a little more intricate than I thought.
It is. It's like building up a regular stick of tissue, but you're wrapping it with
That is pretty cool.
This is really cool.
Frank Field says wooden planes and Iron Men.
There you go. Wood ships and Iron Men.
Yeah, those are cardboard planes.
Now you don't have to make a video of this, so you can just download this and stick it right on your channel.
Yeah, next one just saying, see Livestream.
Yeah. Go to the after show.
What else did you get?
So there's that. Now here's the Helldiver one.
Ah, okay.
Same thing again,
Same
but
thing, yeah.
this one's the Helldiver. This one's got a lot more wood pieces in it.
Now this is also from the mid-40s?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You realize this
all
thing
right.
has existed before any of us did?
Yeah. All right, so that's the Helldiver. So I'm going to save this one for a video because
Sure.
I just saw what's in there, and it looks pretty damn cool.
It just amazes me that if you think about it, no matter where you were, what you were doing, these models were already there waiting on you.
Yeah.
P40F.
Paul Adams says photocopy the parts and build the copy. Keep the
Well,
original.
that's what Fran does. Fran buys these vintage wooden kits, and he just uses them as templates because you make all the wooden parts out of them you want.
Yep, absolutely.
He's made complete model tanks and everything from scratch, just it's like, sure. It's easier to cut the styrene mold. Solid airplane models, Army Syrup, Plycraft. No tools needed, another laminated one.
So this is another laminated one. At first, when I thought it was for the B-17, because I've seen this one before,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a 72nd scale B-17 out of this ply stuff. But that's not what this is. This is actually 3 planes in the box. So it's again using the generic box. And this one here is the Army series, which has
Thing that would scare me off is right on the cover where it says no tools needed.
Does it say easy to build?
So this Army series comes with this one.
Steady, lad. Steady.
Okay, so it's got a P-39D Air Cobra. And
Iron ships and wooden heads.
the P-40E Kitty Hawk. And
You're P40 rich tonight. You got an E and an F.
yeah. And a B-26.
Marauder.
Yeah.
You know, you get that together, you put a little putty in there and sand it down, you could wind up with a pretty slick looking airplane.
Oh yeah.
Or even wood filler.
Yeah, 'cause it's made.
Sanded it, you wouldn't need the filler.
Hmm?
I said if you sanded it right, you wouldn't even need filler.
Yeah, you may not even need filler.
Really? You think you could sand it down just with the parts the way they are?
Yeah, actually, that's the way it's showing. It's showing.
Oh,
really
okay.
filler.
There you go.
You just sand. All the pieces are larger than what the curve is. That's pretty cool. And
You come in.
Take me in.
yeah, so that's got.
Now.
Yes.
Oh,
Do you have to go home, Ken?
No.
well, it had its own glue or something.
Yeah, you
Looks
believe
like a
that.
science
They got that out of the mummy's tomb.
Yeah, I don't know. These are looking like rocks of something else inside a glass vial.
Oh, comes
Ton of
complete with
leaves.
crack.
Yeah.
It's tana leaves for the mummy.
Yeah, there's feels like there's metal parts in the thing here too. Yeah, this is really cool. Okay. And then this one's so this is what the parts look like.
Oh, so they're already pre-cut.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
That is really cool.
Man, that's back. You had to be serious about wanting a model. Go through all that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you see this, and that you like I've done a few other wood kits and stuff, that you really can appreciate how when the plastic kits came out, how it just exploded. This is going to take you, more than a weekend to put this together.
Oh, yes.
You're gonna, and you got to have skill set. You got to be using, and then for 49 cents, you get yourself an Aurora kit that's got 4 parts slapped together. It's day glow green, and you can run around your backyard with it in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, but this looks better.
Yeah. Yeah.
With this one, you get to brag about your mad skills.
And then this one here, this is the Navy series.
Ooh. Bet you there's a Wildcat.
Yeah, let's see what comes with the Navy one. Ah, crap.
It's a Helldiver.
No, worse. The SOC Seagull.
Ah!
Man,
We were
I
just lamenting.
I got screwed.
See, that's the one I build because it's not going to ever be worth anything.
Yeah, I'd rather have a Dauntless. Oh, cool. There is a Dauntless. Woohoo.
Oh, you got lucky.
All right. And a Wildcat.
Max's
I'd
favorite
rather be lucky
Dauntless.
than good.
Now that's a combo. You get your Dauntless and you get your Wildcat.
There you go, the Midway Special.
Your Midway Special.
Brian Tate says, ancient photo etch.
That's cool. All right.
That is excellent. Most very excellent.
And a little bit of brown tar version here.
No, more Mexican heroin.
Yeah. All right, there you go. That's what I got.
Well, that is all right.
Yeah, that's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we still got 76 folks with us, so I guess this is what this is. This is the hanging around at Cheers kind of thing. Everybody's sitting around BS. In fact, this might start becoming our new model for this thing instead of trying to structure it because I always go off the rails. Just
Structure it? We tried to structure this in the past.
that's what I call it.
Hey, some of your best live streams have been completely unstructured.
Yeah. About as structured as a Gillows kit.
We can relate to that.
Add pin.
got him checked in, got his bag purchased.
Somebody's going traveling?
Yeah, Ricky's going back tomorrow.
Oh, okay. By Vegas?
Yeah. For those who don't know, Ricky is a very good friend of mine. We met in 7th grade in junior high school. We've been friends ever since. He's partially the reason why I survived high school. It kept the bullies away.
What did I just... Okay.
Yeah, Brian Tate. Yeah, they're not stickers. They're printed on paper. You cut them out and glue them on. So few of these wood kits will have actual decals in them, but the wartime ones, it's kind of hit and miss whether you're going to get decals or not, because those were, wartime shortages and stuff. But they've all these are like untouched. They're nothing's been done with them yet, so they're all complete.
I just
So
realized...
I'll be doing more, one of my regular reviews on these, full detail and everything.
I just realized I have the perfect little Japanese airplane here to feed to Godzilla.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Is that big
All you need is the.
That's right off the movie poster.
Yeah. All you need is dun 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 dun.
Oh, I can make that happen.
Hey Max, did you ever do that ship, slicing up the ship model?
Oh yeah. It's, I did it like 2 days after I was on the boat with you, after we built it. It's on the shelf waiting me for to build the other Godzilla.
Oh. Okay.
And,
I just wondered if you'd finished it or not.
Oh yeah. Let me. Do I have a picture of it?
Not the ship with the Godzilla. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done the Godzilla. I've done the ship.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
If you've done both of them.
Yeah. No, I haven't done the Godzilla yet. And what I'm doing is I'm going to cut him in half once he's built. The lower half, my wife's going to make a Haruna Nakajima doll to put in him, so it'll be the costume with the shoulder straps and everything on a little diorama base. And then the top half, I'm going to put on some fake water so I can put it with a model ship. And anytime I build a boat or a ship, that's where I'll photograph it. But, okay, guys, almost 10 o'clock. I think I'm the only one here who hasn't had dinner yet. Well, Eric, it ain't dinner time over there yet, is it?
Nope.
But
That's about 7 o'clock.
now March, I'm going to be out there. I'm planning to come out for the lake, the Buena Park show. With
All right.
Mike. We have a table, so
Mike got a table?
Mike and I both got one, yeah, together.
Oh, okay.
Together, yeah. And I don't think I'm going to be. I don't know if I'm going to have him to schlub out there. I mean, maybe I could make some models T-shirts. You know?
Yeah. Bring some T-shirts. I wouldn't be surprised some people would pick up some shirts.
What size are you?
What size am I?
Yeah. Or you can email it to me if you don't want to say.
Yeah, I'm the svelte, small to medium.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, you bumped into Tommy recently at that thing. I saw Tommy put up a video. Tommy Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys he found you.
Yeah. We get together, every couple of months or so.
Cool.
Swap models and stuff and have breakfast.
Yeah, I don't think I could live in California, but I do love visiting. And,
Yeah.
I mean, just it's so expensive out there.
Yeah.
Hey, but it's worth it.
I know. I mean, I can totally understand the attraction.
You just look at Rose Parade is the worst because it's every year somehow some way Rose Parade Day is absolutely beautiful, blue sky, perfect weather, and the rest of the country socked in some sort of blizzard, and when they see that they go, honey, we're moving to California.
Well, I can understand the attraction.
Just the weather, nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. The weather, the beach, the terrain. I mean,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It
is
Really.
It's there's things are definitely different than they were when I was younger. I don't necessarily enjoy some of the things that have changed in California, but I mean, you can go to the beach and ski the same day.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Big Bear in Malibu.
yeah, and yeah, it's not the best surf in the world, but it's pretty darn good surf.
You see,
It's not
Florida
the best
doesn't have surf. Florida, we have we're
Yeah.
surrounded by a gigantic tidal pool.
But there's better surf in other parts of the world, but we got really good surf. We got really good mountains and ski. You go to the desert, another hour away is the desert. We've got any kind of restaurant you could come up with, any kind of food. We've got some pretty good food of any culture is here. Every night of the week you can eat different.
The only things I don't like about California, and it's not the only place, by the way, is the traffic. Okay, which Florida could compete in certain areas with that. So, but mainly the cost, and of course some of the goofy laws, or given the hobbies that I have, they're not conducive. But I think if you're trying to start a business, it's one of the hardest in New York. Are the two hardest places to start a business.
They go out of their way to figure out how to keep you out of business here.
And
I
have heard it said, and I think there may be a hint of truth to this, that big businesses, large corporations, go out of the way to support all this regulation. Because of them, it's almost invisible. They have an army of lawyers to handle it, but it gets rid of lower echelon competition.
But it's become its own beast, and it's now eating those big corporations, and they're leaving.
Yeah.
A number of
I heard something about they want to tax if you leave.
Yeah, they're trying to. Yeah, they're trying to. California last year, for the first time in like forever, had a negative migration for California. We lost more people than came into the state. That's never happened before.
The thing I actually heard, I mean, at first I thought it was some clickbait, but they actually, showed where the article where the guy said this. I think it was recorded at like a city commission meeting or something, and people were complaining about the billionaires get this, the billionaires get that, and with a straight face, okay, not understanding the irony, goes, "You billionaires are making us regular millionaires look bad."
Yeah,
and I'm like,
the California's gotten themselves into a problem in that they've taxed these high income people so much that the state's budget and economy has become so dependent on it. And so these guys are getting sick and tired of this, and they're bolting. And when I'm not kidding when I'm telling you this, but over half of the state's economy is made up of less than 5% of the population.
Well, that's actually common in a lot of that's actually very not as surprising as people think.
Yeah, and so, but then the flip side of that as well is that we've got over half of the population of California is on some sort of government assistance program. You can't sustain that.
No.
And so you've got 5% of the population is supporting the state, and when these guys are leaving, so like an Elon Musk who's making a gajillion dollars a year, and he says, you know what, F you, California, I'm going to Texas.
Yeah, that hurts. That pinches for sure.
That's a chunk of money. And then he's not just him going, but he's taking his company with him.
Yeah.
And all those execs and all that. And
so what you're telling me is with that many people on welfare and taxes that high, then basically you guys are out ahead of France.
We are. We're in trouble. The state is short, billions of dollars, and then and all the stuff they've been finding out, that they, like during COVID when they were passing out money for unemployment, the state gave out $50 billion to people that don't exist.
Oh wow!
At first they admitted to like 5 billion, then it was 10, then it was 20. The latest number is 50. $50 billion.
Wait, billion or million?
Billion with a B.
Jesus,
was
I didn't know
handed
the
out.
economy even had that much money.
Some of it went to prisoners in the state prisons. Some of it went to foreigners in other countries. Some of it, they have no idea where it went.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, Eric, I have a lot of friends of mine that live in California. My son lived there for many years, and he just moved back east. I don't understand how the people of California collectively aren't storming the governor's mansions and all the mayor's houses with pitchforks and torches.
I don't get it either. And not only that, but then we had a recall election,
Yes.
right? And that didn't pass. After all the shenanigans come out about all the stuff that happened, all the billions of dollars that are missing, you know, and here's a chance to say, you know, nope, take a hike, and the state just goes, no, let's do some more of this.
The great redneck philosopher Ron White summed it up. You can't fix stupid.
Yeah. We could have 2 years ago we could have repealed a big part of our gas tax. Because we've got the highest gas tax in the nation, so we've got gas right now, regular unleaded gas around here is over $5, and so we could have repealed about 50 cents of it 2 years ago. And the people in the state voted no. Let's keep that gas tax. I like paying more money.
We were out there in August, and we were in downtown LA by the courthouse, and we stopped for a light, and the pylon on the Arco station there on the corner was $8.99 or regular.
Wow!
I was like, I have to take a picture of this because nobody will believe this when I go back east.
Jesus Christ!
The sales tax in LA County is 15%.
Ooh!
Oh, that's twice what it is here.
They just added another like 2% for some other program they want to fund.
Wow, 15%.
Good luck to them.
It is bad.
Well, they're trying to get people to get rid of their cars.
Yeah, they're doing what's called road diets, where they're taking lanes out of the roads and giving them to bikes.
But let's make you get an electric car and then charge you a fee because you're not paying enough gas tax.
Yeah, that's the new thing. They got all these people into electric cars, and of course they're not paying for the roads.
Hey, what's up?
So now they've come up with a new way of doing it.
You got what?
There's another way that they're going to be doing another road tax as well too. Is they're going to be doing it through. They just passed this one. You're going to get a surcharge on your real estate tax. So, yeah, because they're getting a little squeamish on gas tax.
This is Scale Model Apprentice on the phone. Okay. Yeah. He says he wants to comment on the California thing, the taxes. You're gonna love this. Let me put the phone. Let me put it on speaker and put it by the microphone. You go ahead and tell him.
Right. So where I live in Illinois, I've lived in Saline County all my life, which is down near the Kentucky border, and in the lower half of the state. I've got a new tax on my my income sheet for Chicago Transit. I've never been to Chicago. Chicago Transit is losing so much money that they're charging people who don't even use the train.
They don't even live in Chicago. Oh my God! They're charging the Chicago Transit tax for people who don't live in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, we're still paying for a train that doesn't exist.
Oh my God! Yeah, they're paying for the high-speed rail.
They got a half a mile of it done in 20 years at $2 billion. Come on.
Yeah. It goes from nowhere to nowhere. It's out in the middle of like the Central Valley, like Barstow or something.
Because everybody wants to go to Barstow as fast as they can.
Yeah, this was done with a bond about 15 years ago. They said it was going to cost $10 billion, right? Well, here we are, 15, 20 years later. The estimated cost now is like $150 billion. They've only built that with that money that they got. They got a secondary bill on it, and then they also got a boatload of federal money. So altogether, they've spent over $50 billion so far on this, and they've got a few miles of track. They don't know how they're going to get over the mountains into LA. That no one's figured that one out yet because they can't bore through the freaking San Bernardino Mountains, and they can't go over it because it's too steep for anything that's high speed. They don't have the land. Nope, they hadn't even bought the land for big chunks of this yet. So this thing's dead in the water. But what's even sicker is more than half of the money is completely unaccounted for. They have no idea where it's gone.
Makes it easier to steal that way.
No, it's already stolen.
It's just, first off,
they have no idea how it was stolen. It's just gone.
The following comment defies logic. High-speed rail to Barstow.
It was supposed to go from San Francisco to L.A. and it was gonna but they hadn't figured out how to get it those last 50 to 100 miles into both cities. LA's
let's
the worst
take the money.
one. And so and of course some of the other problems they've come in what was supposed to be about a 3.5 hour ride has now been pushed to 5.5 hours. And it's like, okay, it's 8 hours. It's 8 hours to drive. So
1 hour to fly.
It's 1 hour to fly. Yeah. What they should have done is they should have built one going from here to Vegas. Yeah.
They've been talking about that for years.
Yeah, that would have been a one to build, because you could just run it right next to the 5 or the 15.
Yeah,
just run that. Yeah, just run that straight along there. You don't have any environmental issues. Well, California, they'll come up with environmental issues.
Well, they'll invent one. They'll find another snail dart or Delta smelt.
Yeah, they'll find some freaking turtle out
or whatever
somewhere. But that would have that could have been paid for partially by Las Vegas. I'm sure they would have.
That could have paid off California's debt.
Yeah, I'm sure the casinos and the tourism board in Vegas, I'm sure they would have kicked money in to pay for that sucker.
Well, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Gavin, I want to thank you for checking in. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna hang up on the guys here and go get dinner. My stomach is taking over, and I'm getting how I get.
Sure thing.
Thanks for calling, brother.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Well, guys, I appreciate everybody coming out and hanging out. And for those of you, 71 of us are still with us. Thank you. And I'm just going to do the old sign off here and let everybody go home. So take care of yourselves, guys. And everybody say bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Sorry I was late, but Max kind of made up.
Technically, you were the first one here besides me. So long, guys. Take care. And as always, model on.